Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to a brand new week of Spaced Out Radio, the first full week of December. What do you get me for Christmas? That's what I want to know. Hey, I am Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us as the beard continues to grow. Mike Familant is here tonight. We're going to talk Sasquatch with him and the big red eyes. Doesn't that sound freaky? Good, I'm looking forward to this one. All right, we got Dirty Filth coming in here momentarily to draw some cartoons. He's just unloading some Taco Bell right now. And we have all of you here as well. Laura Lobbs in the gold medal position. Race Fan taking home a rare silver. And B with a nice bronze medal tonight. Hello there, Tim Mothman and Tim Mothman's goatee. Road Flare, Chris 716, and the gorgeous and talented Kira. Nice to see you all. Robert Lamoth, Dino Bravo fan, attorney at large, Michael Morris. Lulu Bell is here. Lulu Bell will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Area 51, Luffy Pirate, Jimmy Gonzalez, and Nicole. How are you? Good to see you all. Jennifer Patterson, thanks for coming on in. Hi, Brown Dwarf and Lee the Bee. Stephanie Kenny Blankenship, Penny Van, how are you? Canna Chef Chris, nice to see you, my fellow Canuck. SG Nav Spotter, Worsley, good to have you both here. Continuing on with roll call. Mama Susan, I love you and your daily messages to me. Thank you. Thank you. I love you so much. I can't wait to give you a big hug in Reno. That's the truth right there. Chris Laker, welcome to SOR Chat. Les Paul Holland, thank you for coming on in. And who else do we have here? We have Deer Slayer and Palmer. Good to see you both. Number 71 in your program tonight, starting at left wing from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. There he is. Thanks for coming on in. Richard Elmore and Millennium, my man. Nice to have you both here. Kurt M., good to see you. And Richard Elmore, thanks for coming on in. Where are we here on roll call? The purple-haired Pixie Lara, you're looking lovely tonight. T-Bone, my man, another great Canadian. How's it going? Jenny White Bear, we love you, my dear. Hope you're having a great night. And there's Lil Cam over on Twitch, all alone on Twitch. All alone, Lil Cam. All right, Doc from Wyoming, how you doing? Dirt Road, W. David Page, and Barb Madison. Good to see you all. Nikki in Seattle, how you doing, my dear? Good to have you here. Ozzy, what's happening, my man? D. Cohen, Jonathan Sims, what is going on? And who else do we have here? Stephen Edmond, good to see you. X, what's happening? Welcome to SOR Chat. Flat 6, Blue Lightning Cards, nice to see you. Jenny Whitebear kicking off the Super Chat tonight. It's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis, so thank you very, very much, Jenny. Love you a lot. All right, let's see. Who else do we have here? We have Philip Baca. What's happening? Pat Leal Films is here. Pat Leal will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Matt Geek, Vanessa, thank you for joining us. And who else do we have? Dragonfly from New York. Welcome to SOR Chat. Y Native, nice to see you. And who else do we have? Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. YouTube Bizavel, welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you for joining us. Scanman, good to see you. Paramarv and Jenny, again, thank you, my dear. Very much appreciate your love. All right, we got to start the radio side here. So that way, Bill WD-40 can lube us up for tonight's show. And thank you for joining us on the podcast version of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and we are talking Bigfoot tonight with Mike Familant from New Jersey. New Jersey! Yeah, New Jersey. All right. We're going to continue on with roll call tonight. We have Dirty Filth and Toe Tag. Nice to see you. Paul LaFosse, good to have you back. And who else is here? Buckethead, my man. I hope you're soothsaying a lot. Gorgeous Larry, nice to see you. And I think we're almost caught up. Welsh Hammer, Jay Burke, good to have you both here. Sweet Robbie G, what's happening, my man? Nice to see you. And who else is here? Mama Catherine, thank you for the super chat. It's lovely, lovely times with you, my dear. And I need a favor, everybody. It is that time. Throw those horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us, will you, at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon, the Space Travelers Club. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. A great show of information tonight talking Sasquatch and the Big Red Eye. Mike Familant makes his debut on the Big SOR here momentarily. Then in hour number 3, it's going to be good. We have Steve Stockton from Among the Missing. Then Courtney Marcassani is going to bring us a majorly impactful UFO report tonight. All right, I'm pumped up about this one. We got to get right to this. So much to jam in. Mike Familant is of northwestern New Jersey, and he is here tonight to share his experiences tracking down North America's most iconic cryptid, the legendary Sasquatch. He's been researching Bigfoot for over 11 years, currently touring the country with his library tour and tracking down Bigfoot at the same time. In 2016, he became frustrated with the lack of true research exhibition shows on television, so he did what anybody should do. He created his own, called In the Shadow of Big Red Eye. The show is currently filming in their 7th season. We're going to learn all about that tonight. And thank you so much, Mike Familant, coming on Spaced Out Radio for the first time. How you doing, my friend?
Hey, thank you for having me, and thank you, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight?
We are great. You know what? The one thing my audience loves, they love their UFOs, they love their Bigfoot. And you know what? If I didn't talk anything else, they'd be so happy. They'd probably get bored, but the minute I shift, they're going to say, get back to that Bigfoot, man. Get back to it. Mike, 11 years you've been researching this creature. And, I got to tell you, I'm an experiencer of this creature, too, as we were talking off the air. And I love Sasquatch stories. They are absolutely amazing. What made you get into this?
Yeah, so it's kind of it's an ironic story. It started back in 2012, right? I was working at a beach resort in Sarasota, Florida, right, which was like the best job I've ever had before my entire life, right? And I was watching this crazy show on TV called Finding Bigfoot. And it's a show where if you're not familiar, they go out and they look for witnesses during the day, and at night they look for Bigfoot. It's kind of interesting. And they were like, if you want to come out with us, you can. You just got to pay this ridiculous amount of money and sign your life away, and you can come out with the show. And I'm like, oh my God, there's no way I am not doing this. This is 100%. We're doing this right now. So I signed up that night. I was engaged at the time, Did not tell my fiance what we were doing. This was going to be like a little pre-wedding little surprise thing, right? And let's see. This was my first time ever camping, so I had no camping gear. Like I didn't have a tent, so I had to get a tent. Didn't have a sleeping bag, and I was trying to hide all this from my fiance. So I was putting it in this little patio closet thing that we had outside of our apartment. And finally, one day, she was decided to clean the apartment, and she found all the stuff. And I was like, "Why are you cleaning? This is crazy. You never cleaned anyway." But she found it. She's like, "Mike, what are we doing?" And I'm like, "Hun, we're gonna go look for Bigfoot in North Florida, right?" And then we broke up. So we had that. There was that thing that happened, and then it was like 3 weeks before the expedition. I moved up to Tampa. I got a job working on the ambulance for the city. I'm an EMT by trade, is what I used to do full time. And I got a job working on the ambulance for the city, and I picked my weirdest partner, and I said, Jimmy, I got to take this crazy Bigfoot trip to Florida, North Florida. Do you want to come with me? And he's like, "Oh, I've always wanted to do that." I'm like, "Nice, right?" So anyway, fast forward, it was a 4-day trip, 3 nights, really cool. Nothing happened. Nothing squatchy happened at all. It was a bust. It was a literal bust. We didn't find anything. And that was until like the last night where we heard me and my friend Jimmy. We were sitting by a campfire, just the two of us. We were camping kind of far away from everybody else, and we were just sitting there, and we heard a tree knock, and I didn't think anything of it. Then I heard a tree knock, bam, at the on the other side, complete opposite direction. So I'm like, that's interesting. I immediately thought it was the people that put on the expedition, because we paid a lot of money to go on this expedition. We didn't get any Bigfoot activity. I figured it was like, these people hoaxing us or whatever the final night. And the next thing I know, about 5 minutes later, you hear it come crashing through the forest, plunk, right, like a fist-sized rock, just like this. And it was at that point in my life where I said, "Nope, this is how horror movies start. I am getting out of here." And my buddy's like, "Well, if you want to sleep in the car, you're more than welcome to sleep." So by the time he said that, I had my sleeping bag, and I was just running to the car, right? And anyways, he finally talked some sense into me. He came to the car. He's like, "Mike, Bigfoot, they knock on trees and they throw rocks. Like, this could be some squatchy activity that we're having." So I said, "Yeah, you're right. You're right." So went out back by the campfire. Over the course of the next 15 minutes, 4 more of these fist-sized rocks came and landed 5 to 10 feet around our campfire. So my
Oh, wow.
buddy, he's like, "I got an idea. I'm gonna throw a rock back at it."
Oh,
I
no.
said, I just said, "Jimmy, I don't think that's a good idea, man. Like, on the grand scheme of things, that's probably one of the worst ideas that you could have, right?" So anyways, he takes the rock and he chucks it back into the woods. Uh, and I knew it wasn't like a person, because a 15-pound laptop-sized boulder came crashing down and landed 5 feet from us.
Oh, that's not a good idea.
Yeah. And that
No.
was it. And that was it. That was done. All the activity was done for the night, and that was it. Next morning, we went and we tried to we asked our neighbors. We're like, "Hey, did you guys hear or see anything last night?" They didn't hear or see anything. So we went and did some measurements, and like the closest that this thing could have been was like 75 yards away, because the trajectory and the terrain and stuff like that, of the way the thing was crashing down through the trees. So I don't know, unless like Nolan Ryan's like throwing rocks in the middle of Florida's woods at 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't know. I don't know what could be out there.
Right. Right. That's just insane. I've had only 2 times rocks thrown at me,
Mm,
and they were just little pebbles. We don't know where they came from, never saw them, just heard them hit the ground around us. I mean, but the idea that you were in that territory for the first time, this is what you wished for, this is what you were hoping for. What was that like on an emotional level for you, knowing that the first time you really go out searching for this thing, you're actually having encounters?
Well, here's the thing. I wasn't even really looking for a Bigfoot experience, right? This was a pre-wedding surprise for me and my fiance that ended up me and my buddy, my now best friend Jimmy, is going on. I wasn't going into it actually thinking that we were going to find or see anything, which is crazy as it is. I was thinking we were going to go out with these crazy people that think everything in the woods is a Bigfoot, and we're going to have a good weekend kind of laughing at them and seeing that this kind of is not real thing going on. And then I leave that on doing a complete 180, and it's like, oh crap, these things probably do exist, and now I'm going to figure out everything that I possibly can about them. It's crazy. I tell people those 15 minutes of that that initial Bigfoot activity changed the direction in the course of my life for the rest of my life. My life did a complete turn at that point in my life where the direction of my life changed, and that if it was never for watching that show on TV, or for my ex-fiance, or for my buddy Jimmy, or whoever the circumstances could be, if the stars hadn't aligned, if you will, I wouldn't be sitting here right now, and I think that's pretty wild.
I gotta ask because I'll be upset if I don't. Did she break up with you because you were going to take her on a Bigfoot adventure?
No, there were some other reasons. Yeah, no, there were some underlying reasons behind that. I think that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, though, you know?
Just no adventure in her at all. Good. I'm glad we got rid of her. Glad we got rid of her.
Yeah, yes. On to bigger and better.
Right, right. Okay, so here you have this encounter though with your buddy Jimmy and your workmate and everything like this. I mean, gee whiz, man. I mean, that had to fire you up in order to get back out in the forest more. It's kind of like, when you hit that first good shot in golf, all of a sudden you become addicted. What
Right.
happened? You became addicted after this?
Yeah, exactly what happened. So Jimmy and I, we came off this expedition, and we immediately started looking into Bigfoot habitats, hotspots, Bigfoot researchers, witnesses, everything that you could imagine Bigfoot related. And like 3 weeks go by, we decide that we are now professionals with everything in the woods, right? Because we watch TV, and we decide we're going to go out by ourselves, right? So we go out like solo, doing our own thing. And a long story short, I was doing Bigfoot calls like every 2 seconds, right? And we end up seeing two pairs of reflecting eyes, a red pair and a blue pair. And we thought they were people. We didn't realize people don't have eye shine. But the one set, the red set, turned and looked at the other set, the blue set, and then turned and looked back at us and then blinked. Another nope moment. We were out of there. But and that was like 3 weeks after our initial event, in a complete and totally opposite different location in Florida. So that was kind of weird too. And that's what really kind of sealed the deal for me. It's like, okay, now I've had two different kind of weird experiences that I uh can't say that I know is anything else beside, I can't attribute to anything but a Bigfoot, really. So it was kind of weird.
You realize that Bigfoot with the red eyes looked at the blue-eyed one and said, "Can you believe these idiots? Can you believe these guys?" You know?
Yeah, they were like, what are these two idiots doing out at 2 o'clock in the morning making these crazy sounds and stuff? Because I was doing Bigfoot calls and stuff. Got to be thinking what crazy people we are.
Oh, yeah, they were literally saying to you at that point, I could guarantee it, he doesn't know what he's talking about. That pronunciation. Yeah. You ended up saying that something along the lines of there's popcorn at the bottom of the toilet. That's what you something along
I
those
was
lines.
I was definitely a tourist coming in. I was like a Boston tourist coming into New York City. Like I was just at a place there, and any Bigfoot knew that as well.
Oh, I hear you, man. I hear you. I mean, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. Like, you don't have a choice. I mean, our area here, the way we kind of do it when we go out in the forest is we do it a little bit differently. We're not out searching for them. We
Mhm.
allow them to come to us,
Yeah.
and we do everything the same. So when we're out in the forest, we park in the exact same place. Our campfire is always in the same place. We always surround that area. We have a big open area that has a bunch of trees around it. So we wait for them to come in, whether or not they want to or not. And most of the time we're out there, and I'll be honest, we don't get a lot of interaction. But
Yeah.
there's that one time. That's all it takes is
Yeah.
one time. The scariest thing we had happen this year is with my son. Okay, my son comes out there, and I don't know what you believe, if you're a flesh and blooder, or if you're a little bit of a woo guy, or whatever it may be. But I'm gonna throw a true woo story at you. So here we are, and my buddy and I are sitting on his tailgate, and Mike leans over to me and he says, "We're being watched." He whispers to me, "We're being watched." Because when you just get the goosebumpy feeling that you're being watched in the forest.
Mhm.
Okay. And he points to our left, where the tree line from where we are is probably 100 feet. And he goes, "There's something over there." He goes, "My eyes just keep going over there, feeling we're being watched." No word of a lie. About 10 seconds later, my son, who is about 25, 30 feet to our right, he's playing in the dirt. He's got his little, he plays Godzilla versus the ants. Okay. And all of a sudden, he stands up and he goes, "Dad, they're here." And I said, "Where?" And he points exactly where my friend Mike had just pointed. There's no way
Mhm.
he would have heard Mike, and he pointed in that direction. I said, I said, "Do you see them?" And he goes, "No, they're telling me they're here." I said, "How many?" He goes, "Two of them." And he goes, "One is really big." And he got feet and meters confused, and he said 10 to 15 meters tall, but he meant 10 to 15 feet tall.
Mhm.
And I said, what does he want?" He goes, "He's just watching us." I said, "Should we go look for him?" He goes, "No, just let him watch us." And then he goes back and plays like nothing is going on.
Ah, see, now that's the most confusing part to me.
Yeah, yeah. But that's
Huh.
just the way it is. And the one thing that I have learned is you have to take those signals, as far-fetched as they sound. There's no reason for him to do that.
Mhm.
Nowhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Weirdest experience this year by far.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. That's wild. I've never had anything like that happen to me. I felt the being watched feeling. I definitely can correlate that to like a possible like I am of the flesh and blood origin of Bigfoot. That's the path that I take. Um, so I think that Bigfoot do have the ability to create this infrasound, right? So I think that as I was hiking this one path that I've been down a million times, 100 times, I got zapped by infrasound, and I just it literally it was at night. It stopped me in my tracks, and it was the one time that I've never finished a hike. I actually turned around, and I had to call my buddy. I was like, "Hey, you have to pick me up where you drop me off the trailhead because I can't go any further because this is creepy. Something's weird." Felt like I was just walking and I hit a brick wall. It's crazy.
Really? What's that
Yeah.
feeling? Okay, so you say it felt like you hit a brick wall. You're in the middle of nowhere. What is that like for those who've maybe never experienced it?
It's just it's you stop and I saw, I instantly stop and I didn't stop because I heard something or saw something. I just stopped because I felt like I needed to. Felt like something I did not want me there. It felt like well, it didn't feel like every hair stood up on my body and was like I have this impending sense of doom. And it was like if I go any further, I feel bad things are going to happen to me. And what's interesting is this whole entire process, for me entering the woods, being all lovey-dovey, happy chappy type guy like I am, to me feeling this overwhelming sense of dread and doom feeling is all recorded and on my YouTube channel. So you can check that out. It's kind of an interesting progression that you can actually see somebody that is possibly zapped by a Bigfoot infrasound.
I want to ask you this, because that sounds way too woo for me. No, I'm teasing. That's just we're just getting into the woo stuff here. But I want to ask you this: why was it important for you to bring camera gear with you to film it, to share your experiences on your YouTube channel?
That's a great question. I think for me, so my thing is I want to know my mission for me is I want to know what threw rocks at me in Florida, right? And if I could figure that out, if I could have a class A sighting of Bigfoot and I see one 20 feet away from me, I don't need to record one to be happy knowing that Bigfoot exists, and my mission, if you will, is complete, right? But then I get into the mission of why I started filming the show, and that is to entice friends and families to get outside and off the couch and into nature more. That's one of my main core beliefs. I never got outside into nature when I was a kid, so it's important for me, if for people that watch my show, that's always an underlying thing to get outside into nature. So that's the real reason why I document and film everything. It's not necessarily because I want to capture a Bigfoot on TV or and get one on TV or be famous or anything like that. It's more so to try to get those people back out into nature a little bit more often.
Right. And the people around you who you've had discussions with about Bigfoot about, I mean, what do they think about your new habits the last 11 years of chasing down this mythical creature?
Well, everybody seems to my full circle of friends have seemed to either um, uh, been dissolved from my circle or have grown into the Bigfoot phenomenon with me. So my full circle of friends is now my Bigfoot friendship, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I've met some of the best people of my life through Bigfooting, and I wouldn't change it. But it's very interesting how this phenomenon and this thing that is started as just a peak curiosity thing, really just takes over your life.
It very much is. As we got about 90 seconds to go before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Mike Familant is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio, talking Sasquatch here. Now, Mike, I mean, you mentioned about, you've kind of had to segregate people a little bit here. Did you expect that? Did you expect that all of a sudden, the people who were your friends, family, or whomever would be thinking that Mike's lost his mind over this?
Well, and here's the thing, I hid it for a long time. I hid the whole fact that I was interested in looking for Bigfoot from my friends, from most of my family, for probably 4 or 5 years before I started the show and before I really came out of the closet and in my Bigfoot obsession. And then I'd noticed that the people, my friends did kind of take 2 separate paths, well, 3 paths. They either didn't care and didn't have anything, and they thought it was kind of weird but cool. Then you got the kind of people who were like, wow, that guy is really, we knew it all along, he was off his marbles, right? And then you have the other people that are like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing. Let me come out with you. So and those are the 3 kind of things. But if I could go back, I would not try to hide it as long as I did, because it's like, I don't know, it's like hiding part of your life, and nobody should have to do that ever.
I think that's great. And that's a good place to end this first half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Mike Familant is here. Yeah, big red eye. Imagine seeing the big red eyes in the forest staring back at you, then turning to his buddy and saying, who's this idiot in the forest at 2:00 in the morning? That's exactly what we're talking about here on Spaced Out Radio as we continue the search for Sasquatch. We're going to get into more stories with Mike, what he's videoed, what he has uncovered, and the stories and legends he's heard of the mighty Sasquatch. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. Stay tuned. That's a fantastic first half hour, man.
Cool.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
first half
I'm
hour.
glad it's going good. It didn't seem like a half hour. It seems like 5 minutes.
I told you it's going to go fast.
Yeah,
It's going to go real
that's
fast.
good.
Let's say hello to Linda Thomas. How are you? Who else has jumped in here that I missed? Let's see here. I know I'm missing something here. Maybe not. Our favorite Marine, Black Dragon. Nice to see you, my man. And I think we are caught up there. All right. For those, I see a bunch of new faces in here tonight. Just kind of, if you're wondering what we're doing here, I always like to remind people we are a live radio show combined with a live podcast and YouTube channel. So we have to take commercial breaks every half an hour for our radio side. But the good news is, you guys being on this side, you get to hear the behind the scenes of the radio side, what we talk about, usually how the knitting is going and, the last game of canasta went, the real important things in life. That's what we talk about during the breaks. But thank you all for coming on in. Oob to Joe's Maine, you've got Bigfoots. CS, how are you? Sensational Sherry, thanks for coming on in. Phantom from the Utah, welcome to SOR chat. Dirt Road, nice to see you. And yes, Dirt Road, great guest, absolutely great guest. We got to get him more on the Woo train, but we'll get him there.
We'll see about that. Yeah, it may take a minute.
We'll get you. We always get you.
That's what I like to tell people. I like to say, hey, if you ever, have any second thoughts about Bigfoot, and just come camp with me for a couple nights. That's all. That's all it takes.
That's it. Yeah. The Messenger is this internet radio like Icecast. We are on TalkStream Live and KPNL and what's the other one? Odyssey Radio. But no, we are also we're on 8 terrestrial radio stations, and that's who we have to do the breaks for. So we got 7 stations in the U.S. and 1 just outside of Toronto. It's good times. Good times.
It's a great pickup line. Come camp with me for a couple nights. Yes, that's very true. I never thought about that. Thought about it that way.
Yeah. Leave it to Joe. Leave it to Joe. Joe's been with me almost 9 years as a listener.
There you go. Well, thank you, Joe, for tuning in tonight.
Yeah, Joe is he lives in the Sierra Nevadas, and he's got a lot of weird shit around his house, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, a lot of weird shit. He's got Bigfoot stuff happening there. He actually used to have horses, and the horses every now and again would get these fancy braids in their tails.
No kidding.
Yeah, and he's eyewitnessed a number of UFOs, and it's funny. Here's a funny story about Joe. When he first started listening, he was my biggest critic. Calling me a wannabe Art Bell and all this kind of stuff. And sometimes I have a few tricks up my sleeve. And I have no idea where this guy lives, but this is God's honest truth. I said, Joe, he was taking pictures. I said, Joe, I want you to take a picture. I think it was from exactly where you're sitting, go to 1:30. Like on a clock, go to 1:30 and take a picture. And I said, you're going to see something extremely strange. And he takes a picture, and there is 3 sets of eyes at different levels staring at him. And this photo, it wasn't raccoons, it wasn't birds because it's the middle of the night, it wasn't owls. Like, we're talking big yellow eyes staring at him, 3 sets.
Oh man,
at different levels. And it scared the shit out of him a little bit, right? But yeah, so ever since then, he's been my buddy. So big thank you tonight to Jenny ×2 and Mama Catherine with the super chats tonight. We want to remind everybody the store is open on our website. We have new swag up. New swag. There's an after-hour shirt of Rob G. There is brand new socks. I've got a new cup out or tumbler. Yeah, a couple new T-shirt designs. Go shopping at spacedoutradio.com. And excuse me, there's more there. I've been playing around, but the socks are pretty damn cool.
I was just going to say, I'm looking at the socks now.
Yeah.
That is, and I like the long sleeve, the baby.
Hold on, Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Glad you are here for the fun and interesting times of Bigfoot. Want to remind all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can join us on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. All right, we get right to it. Mike Familant, looking for the big red eye. Sasquatch, Bigfoot talk all night long. Mike, thank you so much for being here. Very much appreciate it.
Yeah, no, again, thank you for having me. This is, like I said, this has been so much fun so far.
What kind of territory are you searching in? Like, where do you go to look for Sasquatch?
So I go all over the East Coast of the United States, east of the Mississippi. I've been Maine to Florida to Michigan to Indiana, and that's my library tour. I go during the day. I speak at libraries, and that kind of funds my way to go camp at national forests or state parks at night to film my show and look for Bigfoot there. So it's kind of a win-win situation for that.
And how often are you on the road?
I did 100 library presentations this in 2023. So I camped 129 nights this past year.
Wow. And does that include still having the full-time job, or is this your job now?
This is my full-time job, is going around the country and talking about Bigfoot.
And what is the reaction from people whom you meet in these libraries, relative strangers who are coming up to you and saying, you know, what's up with this? Or are they talking about their own experiences? What do you have going on?
Yeah, I'd say about 50% of people that come to my library presentations are really into it. They heard that I was going to be in the area, and they've driven from hours away to come see me present or whatever. And it's usually because they have had their own story or their own experience that they want to share, which is awesome. I always let everybody share their experiences. I think that's a very important part of the program. But then you have people that also are kind of skeptics that come in. I had one person, I always open it up to like questions at the end of the show, right? And I had one person, he came in late. That really bugged me to start, but he came in late, and then his hand went up. So I called on him for the first question, and he's like, he turned around to the audience. He's like, "Do you guys believe this crap?" And everybody just like audibly gasped. So that was that was one of the worst. But I do get critics sometimes that as I like to call them, really heavy-minded skeptics that like to join in the presentations.
I mean, how do you deal with the skeptics, though, who think that you're just wasting your time? You're lying to people, trying to make a $10 off of them or $50 off of them. I mean, why should people believe you?
Well, I don't make any money. That's the start. Bigfooting, if you can imagine, the field of Bigfoot research does not bring in a ton of money. That's just a shocker for a lot of people. But I've gotten every question that people have come up and tried to stump me, if you will, right? So I have all these answers that are lined up. Like people always come at me like, "Oh, where are the bones?" Well, have you seen bear bones? Type of thing. And that's a good one that I always get. And you know, you just have to. It, the way I close out all of my presentations and the way I close out most of the things when my speaking engagements is a quote. And the quote is, "Life with the possibility of Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster is far superior to one without." And I think you could take that at a bunch of different levels, but on the most superficial level, if you can't understand that, and if you have a problem, and if you have to argue that fact, then that means you got something inherently wrong with you, I think. So that's how I like to come up to, you know, treat my skeptics that come up to me and try to ask certain things.
Don't you find that people who are skeptic just have, and I hate to say this, but some of the most lamest excuses for not believing in this creature? I mean, it
Yeah.
is. I mean, what are some of the more funny excuses you have that Bigfoot does not exist?
I just saw one on Facebook. Bigfoot doesn't exist because the government covers it up. There's no good visual or video evidence of Bigfoot because the government will take it down every time someone publishes it. And I think that's just hilarious because the government has nothing better to do with their lives than watch every video that's uploaded to YouTube to look for Bigfoot. I mean, you know, because that's something.
No, I think mine would be we would have found it already.
Oh, that's a good one too. Yeah, yeah, we would have found it. I do like the Where Are the Bones. That's a great one.
That's a
Um, uh, um, with all the people in the woods, with all the cameras nowadays, how isn't there a clear picture one? That's a great one too. And my comeback for that is like, well, the average Bigfoot sighting lasts 5 seconds, right? So I would 3 to 5 seconds. So you have like 5 seconds to take your phone out and take a clear picture. You know, you're not going to be able to do that, really. You're lucky if you can. So that's why there's no real clear pictures of Bigfoot, I don't think.
well, you know what? I think you're being very logical about this. To be blunt, I really think you do. I mean, we got to add some woo to you, color you up a little bit, but we'll get we'll get there, Mike. Mike Familant is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We are talking Bigfoot here. All right, Mike. You know the one thing that we talk about, and you mentioned it, like where's the body, where's the skeleton? I got to tell you something, and I haven't even told my audience this. This has nothing to do with Bigfoot, but very similar to what you're dealing with. My buddy Phil and I went out hunting the other day. It was near the last day of hunting, and we go out, and all of a sudden he says, hit the brakes, because I'm driving, spotting, and he's looking to shoot something. And we come across in the forest a moose kill.
Mhm.
And all that is left of this thing is the ripped off fur from the wolves or whatever animal killed it, and the spine and part of the skull. That's it.
Hmm.
And nature took care of the rest.
Yeah.
And you know what? To know that, okay, that it looked like a junior moose, so male, female couldn't tell. Okay. All the legs were gone. The jaw was gone. All the body organs were gone. Okay. The tail was gone. Everything is gone. The ears, everything. Okay. Except the spine and the skull. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, and the hair that had been ripped off. But the point that I'm getting at is nature has an incredible way of disposing of whatever it may take. Whether it's the bugs, whether it's the animals, whether it's the scavengers, whether it's the apex predators that made the kill. It's amazing how quickly nature can soak back its own.
2 weeks under the right circumstances. You can go from me and you sitting here talking to me being completely decomposed, no bones left, no nothing. You couldn't understand that something even died there in like 2 weeks under the right circumstances. And to put on top of that, I think Bigfoots are a little intelligent. So just like any other animal, but add intelligence to them. So like if they know that they're going to pass, they're going to go into the most remote areas that they can get into, where humans just inherently aren't going to go to look for them, right? So, and then you put that on top of the quickly decomposing, on top of the other animals that you have, the scavengers, like you mentioned, you're not going to find Bigfoot bones.
No, I disagree. And you know what? Even if they do, bury them.
That's
You know,
that's a very common philosophy as well, is Bigfoot buries their bones because they don't want them to be found. Yeah, that could be as
yeah.
well.
You know, and then also, and you know, if you want to go into the conspiracy side of everything, you know, a lot of people will say that they bury them in the rock quarries, where all of a sudden the mountains just open up to a farm of rocks. Don't know how they got there, all these boulders, but a lot of people believe that this may be where, you know, they've had Sasquatch sightings, and even David Paulides says a lot of people go missing in these rock forests or quarries, whatever you want to call them. And you know, I kind of look at it like, if that's a burial ground, you know, that's a good place because people aren't going in there. You know,
And if they are, they're not going to be going underneath the rocks looking for stuff, you know.
absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, so it's kind of interesting about that. Out of all the stories you have heard over time that you have investigated, you know, doing this library tour, which I think is just absolutely fascinating and actually makes me want to go to my local library and set something up.
You should.
Why do you believe, or have, let me rephrase that. What's a story you've heard in your library tour that just kind of hit with you? It's sat with you.
Oh man. You know, and this is going to bring in the little woo aspect of it. Okay, so you might enjoy the story a little bit, but this gentleman in Maine, actually, we just released the episode yesterday evening. But anyways, we were in Western Maine, and we were doing some library presentation up there, and a gentleman came up, and he had messaged me on Facebook beforehand, but so I knew about him. But he expressed his sighting of a 20-foot Bigfoot with pterodactyl claws, that was shape shifting and left 96-inch footprints in Maine's western mountains. But the reason why this stands out to me is because he would pass a lie detector test. Like, there's no question in my mind that he's telling me what he saw. And that kind of sits heavy with me, because like that, even though I don't necessarily believe that Bigfoot could get to 20 feet tall, or necessarily believe the woo aspect of it, I can't say that somebody didn't see what they saw, right? So it sits with me kind of heavy. It's like, wow, that's something that either the guy is absolutely crazy, or he saw something, you know.
I've heard some crazy stories too. You know, and my theory is much like yours. I believe a lot of the woo aspect, because being around a lot of First Nations people in my area, I don't think tens of thousands of years of stories are
Yeah,
false.
right.
Okay. They've been passed down generation to generation for a reason. And I look at some of those stories and I think, wow, man, like if just, let's just say hypothetically, just 5% of those stories are correct,
Mm-hmm.
we are in for a whole dynamic of changing
Oh,
the history of the world here. Okay. And what we know about this planet. But the idea behind it is this, you know, being more of a flesh and blood kind of guy that you are, you know, you still seem a little open to the fact that the woo aspect may be out there. It may have happened, or be happening as we speak, and you're still willing to keep an open mind about that. Am I correct?
here's the thing: is a good friend of mine, Justin Decker. He came up with
Great guy, by the way. He was just
he,
on the show a couple weeks ago.
extremely awesome dude. He has a philosophy, or a theory about the woo thing, and his thing is like, years and years ago, when we first came into the Amazon, and we found this eel, right? And the only thing we knew about this animal is that it shocked us when we got close to it, and we knew nothing else about this eel other than, wow, this is crazy. We knew nothing about electricity back then. We didn't know anything. Years later, science has led us to believe that, or led us to show that this is an electric eel and it has these capabilities, and they're not crazy outside of nature. They're just they're there, and they have these abilities. What's to say that we don't know that side of Bigfoot yet, and we just don't understand it? That's why I'm very open to, we're always, as a culture, and we're always learning different things. So why can't there be the option of having something that we don't necessarily understand yet being not discovered? It's totally plausible.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of the reason why, well, like if you look at the BFRO or not finding Bigfoot or people along those lines, I think that they are trying so hard to bring credibility to this field that they don't want any type of story out there or legend or theory to, to kind of risk their reputation on.
Hmm.
Okay. And it's funny, I think for the most part, with a lot of the big name researchers out there, I think it's actually done the opposite. It's actually more harmed them, because if you look at the BFRO, it's been proven that they are actually doctoring their
Yeah,
statistics,
yeah.
because they don't want any stories that go along with the fact that, let's say, you're in the forest, you come across a Sasquatch whooping, and you find its track, you see something move in the shadow, and then all of a sudden a UFO flies over. They're not
Hmm.
taking that as a report.
Yeah, how many
They're
reports about that do you read on the BFRO website? Zero.
zero.
Hmm.
And yet I know people who are part of the BFRO who've put those reports in and had them canceled.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
I used to be an investigator with them, and I'm not proud to admit that, but it was and I had access to the database and the flats database and everything, and I saw how many reports were say uninvestigated, or the reports, and this goes from any state that you look at. Uh, People select the best reports and only do them, or only do the recent reports and not the historical reports, and it really puts a, I've heard of states where investigators will were geographically put the Bigfoot sighting in a different location, so it's not inside of their investigation area, so nobody else goes there to maintain and preserve their hotspot. Like, I think that's crazy. That's what justice is that doing?
There's no science in that whatsoever.
No,
No science in that.
no.
And I and I just look at it like this. We don't know what the creature is. I'm a woo guy, you're not a woo guy, and I'm fine with that. You and I can, I mean, look, we've been talking for 52 minutes here, and we're having a great conversation
Oh yeah.
because we both love this creature. Okay. Yet we're from two completely different spectrums of where we come from. But the point that I'm getting at is this: until we know what this creature is, we can't rule out what it is not. It's
Mhm.
impossible. And I think that's where a lot of the tension within the community comes from, and what it's about, because you can't claim all science if you have people making reports that this thing vanished right in front of me.
Mhm. But you also, at the same time, can't explain something that's unexplainable with another something that you can't explain. Or you can't explain a mystery with a mystery, right?
Well, you have to be careful with that, because everything that we do is anecdotal. There's never going to be another Patterson Gimlin film
Right.
because of CGI and because of AI now. So video's done.
Yeah.
Photographs, nobody can seem
So
to take a proper picture of this thing. So photographs are done. What's
yeah.
evidence? What's
Yeah.
evidence?
You're right. And even the best new kind of evidence that we have out there, I think, like thermal drones. I think that's a great way to look
Yep.
for Bigfoot. Um, that what can it say that it's not just a person or a person in a suit or something like that, from it's just there nothing I could, and this will bring up another kind of interesting topic. I could get the best evidence of Bigfoot. I could go out and get my 15 seconds of Patterson Gimlin A-class footage, right? And nobody's going to believe me because A, I'm out there looking for Bigfoot, and B, because I got the best footage of Bigfoot. So what I'm doing in the woods is kind of a moot point anyway, right? Trying to videotape one and get one on camera. What am I doing that for? That doesn't make any sense if you think about it.
Well, let me go here before we go to break at the top of the hour. Mike Familant is our guest tonight. If you had that Class A $1 million footage, would you release it?
I don't know. I don't think so, because I would be able to complete my goal of finding out what was truly out there, and that's my thing is now, once I find that out, what can we do to preserve and conserve these creatures? How can we make these guys okay to live, right? And is that going to be better by releasing this footage? I don't know.
Well, the big thing for me is okay, with that footage, you look at Patterson and Gimlin. Bob Gimlin's 96 years old.
Yeah.
And still getting death threats 60 years later.
Yeah.
Do you want that? I mean, you think about the amount of over a Bigfoot video, the amount of people who threatened him, his children, his grandchildren, tried to ruin their lives, and I don't know. I could guarantee you if I had the $1 million footage, I would not release it. I would not release it whatsoever. It's not worth the hindrance of the next 50 plus years of internet to ruin me or my family.
Yeah.
I would release it to some scientists that I know.
Well, that's the yeah. Who would you release it to is a question.
Absolutely.
But, yeah. Fun fact, I did get a death threat over the Jersey Devil not too long ago.
Oh, you got to tell us that in the next hour.
Absolutely.
Tee it up for us. We got 2 minutes.
Okay. It's a very short story. You want me to tell it now, or
can you put it in 2 minutes?
2 minutes? Yeah, it's very simple.
That's
People of South Jersey love the Jersey Devil. In my presentation, I may or may not happen to think that the Jersey Devil may be a misidentified Bigfoot. Not a popular opinion of mine, especially in South Jersey where they swear by the Jersey Devil, right? So anyways, I happen to say this theory about how I think the two are the same. And let's just say I got a nice little death threat that says, don't ever come down to South Jersey preaching and saying that these two animals are the same, because that doesn't fly down here with us. So, and then more words than not, be careful what you do.
Wow. How do you feel about that?
I initially kind of didn't feel okay about it. I was like, wow, this is getting kind of intense here. Like, what am I doing? And then I was like, oh, these people are just crazy, whatever. I get a lot of hate mail, so that's the only one that threatened to kill me. So, I mean, whatever.
What are you getting hate mail?
Because people are jealous, I think. I don't know if it's jealousy or if it's maybe they just genuinely don't like to see people having fun out in the woods. That could be it too. I don't know why people are so mean today.
See, normally if I get anything mean or sarcastic on my YouTube channel, I usually just fire back. I try and give some sort of sarcastic cheap shot back. I find that to be a little soothing, even though my Kira hates it when I do that.
Yeah, you got to be careful what you say, especially nowadays.
Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? But it's something, Mike, that we are going to talk, and I know we have more questions coming from our audience here on Spaced Out Radio when we return on the Mighty SOR here. Mike Familant is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We are talking Sasquatch. We are talking all sorts of fun stuff about the big, hairy, wild man that's roaming around North America and his tour across the United States, presenting on Bigfoot. We will return on the Mighty SOR. Your questions next. So if you're in our YouTube channel, put your questions in capital letters. We will be right back on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott, your host with the most tinfoil, and we will be right back. All right. We are clear. We got 5.5 minutes. I'm going to quickly disappear. Dirty Filth. We haven't had a blob sighting yet.
Yeah, she's downstairs, curled up on the couch with Mrs. Filth.
What are you drawing tonight, buddy?
It's aliens explaining to Sasquatch that the government is in possession of multiple different types of alien corpses and craft. Which is kind of the gist of what I got from that last David Grush, Joe Rogan thing. So Sasquatch all pickled up at the bar. Then they got the old quarter arcade machine in the back. And hi Cryptid Huntress. Hi everybody else I missed earlier. The gremlins piled on me and I couldn't turn over and type fast enough. You know, I think the only way we'll ever get a decent Sasquatch video or something proof is if somebody is live streaming and a Sasquatch comes out and like clubs them over the head with a stick of some sort.
Sasquatch comes out and clubs them?
Yeah, Sasquatch has got to come out of the bush and whack him over the head with a big tree trunk of some sort, like right on Facebook live stream.
Wouldn't, just for the sake of argument's sake, shouldn't it be the other way around? Shouldn't you be the person be clubbing the Bigfoot?
I think it might startle the Bigfoot, and then they just kind of bonks him in the head. Because you know, if you're walking out in the forest, you can walk by a deer and then turn around and there it is. You don't notice it. Maybe the Sasquatch is just hanging out. Guy startles him and clubs him over the head.
Fun story for you is we were hiking just the other day, like 2 days ago, and we almost got ran over by 2 deer. Like literally, like ran over. There were hunting dogs. They were chasing them, and maybe 10 feet. Yeah. They started saying, "Grandma got run over by a reindeer." It's just be Michael got ran over by a reindeer. I'm gonna release that on Christmas Day, I think. Yeah. Oh, they were going too. I mean, they were not sticking around to see what was going on.
Yeah, and getting trampled by 8 sets of hooves wouldn't be very fun.
Yeah.
Could be worse. It could have been a moose or something. Those are pretty big.
And we don't have them in New Jersey, thankfully. Yeah. The biggest thing we have up here is the bear, and then the deer, and coyotes.
You guys got any big cats down there?
Biggest cat we got is bobcats. They say we don't have any mountain lions. I would beg to differ, but they say that about a lot of places down here.
Are there any like mythical cryptid cat type creatures from where you live?
No, not so much. I know down in Texas they have the big black cats, the black panthers, but not so much by me. By me, really, you got the Bigfoot, and then down in South Jersey, you have the Jersey Devil, of course.
What about Mothman kind of things?
Mothman, yeah, Jersey Devil, wing cryptid type thing. Mothman you got in West Virginia. That's supposed to be like a cryptid that you see, and it's a bad omen that you see, and then something bad happens, like the bridge collapsed there back in the 60s or 70s, I think it was. I don't know how much stock I put into that, but it's definitely, people see it, which is crazy.
You know, they got like all types of sports teams named after things, but they don't have anything named the Mothman, so you don't want that kind of bad luck, obviously.
I guess it'd be a losing season if you name somebody the the Mothman of wherever. Well, that would be the worst
Saskatchewan
name.
Mothman.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes by super quick sometimes. It's just Dave says it every time he's. Thanks, Dave.
Back
Or
at
Dave,
the
you could
bar,
just- Yeah. The aliens just letting all the information out. Sasquatch is
Yeah,
trying to pay attention.
it happens.
And it's actually quarters to play the machine, not loonies.
All right, good. Peter Benton, good morning to you. May, welcome to SOR Chat. Blue Cruz, thanks for coming on in. DOD, nice to see you again. Who else has joined us here? Oh, look who it is. It's the gorgeous cryptid huntress, Jessica Jones. Hello. Hey, you can meet Jessica Jones, Sweet Robbie G, Nicole, myself, and Kira, and the entire SOR team by coming to the third annual fan party in in Reno, Nevada. May 10th through 12th, 2024. Tickets are $60, or if you want VIP, they're $100. We're going to get some major people out there to join us as well. Mike, if you want to come, everybody's invited.
Let's go.
Yeah, everybody's invited. We're all paying our own way. And come on and show on up. Hey, thank you tonight to Noble Patrick, Catherine, and Jenny ×2 for the super chats. Love it. And you can support our store at spacedoutradio.com. Here we go, everybody.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live at KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. What do we got here? Lampidodronomy. Lampidodronomy is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can join us on Patreon in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Here we go, hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio. We're talking Bigfoot tonight. Our guest, Mike Familant. He is the Big Red Eye, and we love it here. It's got a good facial hair and beard combination. Very nice, high and tight. We like that around Spaced Out Radio. Mike, how you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's getting to be 1 o'clock in the morning over on the East Coast. This is going to be one of my latest podcasts. So thank you very much. Got to do it sometime, right?
Hey, it's a lot of fun, and it's going by fast, way too
It
fast.
is.
We're going to start off with a couple of audience questions here. Let's start off with Guy in Calgary, Alberta. How do cryptids react to hunting game calls, wounded rabbit, etc.?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite ways to look for Bigfoot. Actually, is to call in animals, just like hunters call in animals, right? I use injured deer or a deer caller, a female deer, and what I do is try to call in and sound like an injured deer would sound. So Bigfoot would think, "Ooh, easy meal" type thing, right? And boom, instead of seeing an injured deer, it would see me with my thermal camera, just taking a video of them. That's the theory of it anyway. We have managed to call in some really cool things. If you guys are out in the woods, you can call in barred owls. Really fun to do. Even doing different barred owl calls is a good way to get responses to Bigfoot as well.
Do you enjoy that, or are you fearful that you might call in the wrong thing. See, up here,
Yeah.
we don't use a lot of calls because there's a lot of apex predators out there.
Hmm. Yeah, we were just talking there in the break. The only thing we have really out here, bears and coyotes, that you really are any two concerned creatures of concern, animals of concern that you have to be worried about here. So nothing too crazy. You're not going to really call in a bear. You can call in coyotes, but you know they're coming because you can hear them. Nothing too much to be concerned of here. If you were in a high predation area like like yourselves, you definitely would be. You'd have to go about changing your tactics up, especially if you leave like bait out or something like that. I'm sure you guys don't leave any bait out up there, correct? Yeah, no,
Yeah. Yeah. I think it all depends where you are.
yeah,
Okay. Like I would personally not, because I don't know what else is going to get into them, you know, and that's the scary part
mhm,
of what we do up here. So, I mean, certain areas, like down where you are, where there's less predatory animals, I could see where that makes sense. But it is still important, though, as we continue on with this question. Just to be remiss here for our audience for a second, it is, if you are going out into an area, know what animals are out there before you go
yeah,
and decide to play wounded rabbit calls or any type of animal that is struggling. Because if you're in an area where there's grizzly bears, or there's black bears or mountain lions that are quite popular, or whatever it may be, a high level of predatory animals, you may be putting yourself in a danger that you don't need to. And that's probably a good point to make at this time.
yeah. You don't want to put yourself in any more danger than it's already inherently dangerous going into the woods at night is, right? Um, so that's something and also if you're going into woods doing these calls, wounded animal calls, you should also have, and I guess this goes without saying, I guess we should say it though, you should have a knowledge base of what animals are in the woods that you have, just that you would hear, so you don't concern them, or you don't misidentify them for, say, a Sasquatch or something like that, that you would have no idea. If you're very, intro to getting into the woods, definitely have an idea of what animals live there.
All right, let's move on to Vanessa. Has anyone ever been pelted by a rock thrown by Bigfoot?
Oh, that's a good question. I would imagine so. Not that I can think of any reports that I've taken over the years. They've been very close, within feet. I know the rocks that were thrown that were thrown at me were, 5 feet or so away. Uh, Fun little story. I actually did get hit with a rock one time. I was on a Bigfoot investigation, and this is just kind of a fun story. Is I was doing an investigation. It was the second night there, at a private property where one of my friends saw a Class A sighting of a Bigfoot 2 nights prior. So I was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna go there and camp there." So went there, camped. Second night, I get hit with a rock, right, in my chest. I'm like, "Oh, this is crazy." I thought it was Bigfoot activity. Anyways, left the property after that, after the investigation was over, went back over the evidence. Turns out that he was hoaxing me the whole time. And the only reason why I know this is because I left a voice recorder at camp, and the person that was throwing rocks was at our camp. So unfortunately, you got to watch out for hoaxers too. But no, I don't know of anybody that has been physically harmed by a Bigfoot. Although I don't think they would be around to tell you if you were harmed by Bigfoot.
Oh, very true. Very true. And that's where the safety comes in. I mean, like you said, there's a lot of hoaxers out there that are
Mhm.
really trying hard in order to make things happen on their own, to try and ward off people or stifle people or whatever it may be. So I mean, it's very tough to try and do that. I've had, like I said, 2 rocks thrown at me, just
Mhm.
2, and neither of them were close, but they were attention getters. And I think that's what the rock theory is
Yeah.
I think it's a security point at some point when you get multiple thrown at you. But if it's just one, it's kind of like, hey, I'm watching you, and just know that I'm here. What's your theory of the rock throwing?
I think that's I think you hit the nail on the head. I think when the first one's kind of like a, hey, I'm here, don't come any closer type thing. But then if you don't leave, or if you get closer to the area, then I think you start getting multiple larger, more aggressive rocks getting thrown or closer at you, right? I think it's a defense mechanism. I think it's just a way of getting people out of the area. I mean, and it would have worked too if my buddy Jimmy wasn't there. I would have totally left, if it wasn't for him. So it would have worked,
Mm-hmm. I mean, do you think it is a defensive mechanism though? Maybe there's young ones around, maybe there's older ones around that need protecting, and maybe they run like wolves, where you have the stronger younger crowd that's taking care of the older crowd that's maybe not as healthy as they once were.
Could be. I do think they live in family groups, so I think you have anywhere from like 4 to like 10, 12 individuals that live like within like a family group, or some people call them clans. I don't like that word clan, but family groups I call them. But anyways, they I think they do take care of their other elders and young. I think they live together type thing. I think like with multiple, like other species, the males will kind of go off on their own and do their own thing. But I think initially why I got rocks thrown at me was because we were camping too close to their family group. And they wanted us out of the area. I think we were just nobody else got Bigfoot activity on that trip because they were all further away, but we were, I think, the closest to him. That's why we had the Bigfoot activity. I don't know. That's just my theory.
Mm-hmm. I can see that. Okay, let's move on to another one from Sovereign here. There's a comment. Their bones get beamed up into UFOs. I might have seen. Wow, this is a far one out there, Sovereign. Only questions in capital letters, please, guys. All right. Nikki wants to know. I got a pair of questions from Nikki. Mike, do you know about Ronald Moorhead and the Sierra Sounds and your thoughts on him?
Of course, Ron Moorhead is a great individual, a very, very stellar individual. If you ever have the pleasure of listening to him speak at a presentation, definitely go do it. Very, very cool. Sierra Sounds are really legit. I think there's something that has been really analyzed over the years, and it's something that is just sounds so horrifying to me. And I could just imagine like being in the woods and hearing that. I wouldn't, nope. Yeah, I don't know.
Ronald is going more woo. Just saying.
He is. And his book is I believe he has 1 or 2 books out, but it's very interesting stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what to think of the Sierra Sounds until what they call the samurai chatter.
Yeah.
Until I heard it for myself. Then that's when it kind of woke me up that there is a communicative language that goes on between these creatures, whether it's howling, whether it's hooting, whether it's wooing or talking in garble. I don't know what it is, but it is a definite language that is out there that I think you have to listen to. And let's face it, with this creature living in the forest, how many animals has it learned to mimic in order to protect itself?
Yeah.
Whether it's deer or hummingbirds or owls or whatever.
Yeah, this Bigfoot creature is the master of the forest. Obviously, it knows everything. It's like, I think like if you go camping in the woods and not even like at a campground, if you go like deep into like say your own area or somewhere deep in the forest, I think Bigfoot's going to know you're there before you get out of your car. Right. A lot of people don't realize slamming a door sounds like a tree knock. So that's a really good way to either scare off a Bigfoot or get initial Bigfoot activity. So I always have my voice recorder going like before I get out of the car. but yeah, it's just such an interesting thing. I don't know.
Yeah, it is interesting, very interesting, because you just don't know. And that's the beautiful part. We say it all the time. You just don't know, but that's the truth of it all. It
Yeah,
really
yeah,
is.
and it sounds like a kind of like a cop out type thing in saying that, but it's the truth behind it, really. I mean, going back to Sierra Sounds, man, I would love to experience something that to be able to put the like to experience that myself and to be able to put the two and two together. That's got to be something else.
You know, the fact that they built themselves a security lean-to, okay, to hide in for
Mm,
these creatures, and the creatures never came up to that lean-to. I've always wondered that if these creatures are so rough and tough and protective of their area, they
yeah,
could have easily taken, the life of Ron Moorhead and the people that were with him. Could have easily
sure.
done that, but they didn't. And that's what one of the things I've always thought about. Like, you're right there. Take them out. If they're a
Yeah.
danger, if the humans are a danger, why not get rid of them?
Hmm. Well, and you touched on David Paulides and the missing 411. I know he doesn't come out right out and say Bigfoot, but he sometimes alludes to it a little bit. But then I think Bigfoot inherently know, like, hey, if we take every person or if we kill every person or do bad things to people, that means bad things are going to happen to us. I think that could be, just like animals have an inherent fear of humans. I think Bigfoot do too. And I think the only reason why we're going to have activity with Bigfoot is if they're inquisitive and they want to come in and see you and check you out. And I think at that point you're not going to have like this accidental encounter that a lot of people think that they're going to have.
That's a good point. Very good point right there. Michael Familant is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Let's get to another question here. This one from Nikki as well. Since you were doing animal calls regarding Bigfoot, have you ever tried babies crying?
There's not much that I haven't tried. We have set up a false camp before where we have babies crying. We did that for a night, and then the next night we did people snoring. Both of them did not have any activity with that. My favorite thing to play in the woods is actually whale vocalizations. They
Really?
get this really, really low, grunty, low pitched kind of vocalization that really is very bassy and kind of rocks the ground, and if you do it loud enough can really, you could feel it. And that's what people say that Bigfoot sounds like. They could feel this loudness and this vocalization. So um, I try to play these whale calls and have had very good activity and replies back. We've gotten tree knocks and also a whoop back that we think we recorded to these whale vocalizations.
One of the things that I would suggest trying, if you wouldn't mind,
Mm.
children's laughter.
Ooh, good one. Yeah. Okay.
The reason why is, and I've talked to researcher, a couple of different researchers about this, um, and children laughing really seems to bring them out, like the curiosity out. Like,
Yeah.
my son is out at our Sasquatch area.
Hmm.
Okay, it seems that when he is there, there is always something moving around. You can hear it. You can't
Mm.
see them, okay? But there's something that attracts them to children. Okay. I'm not saying they're there to take children, but
Yeah.
I believe Sasquatch has a major curiosity of humans, and little humans especially. The way they play, the way they laugh, the way they frolic, and
Hmm.
everything. I think that attracts them.
Why do you think that? Do you think that's because like you could the Bigfoot can like sense the because I've heard people also say like if you have like this clean spirit and well-meaning vibe about you, you have a better chance at coming across the Sasquatch.
I agree with that too.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. In fact, prior to our investigations, we try to get into, we don't pray or do anything like that, but we try to get into the correct mindset of where we're here not to hurt anything that's in this forest, but just to learn and to investigate. And if we have the opportunity to come across one of these things, if we would let us see one, that's all we could ask. And that's kind of like this little ritual we do every time before we go out on an investigation.
Yeah, and I think that's right. But there's something about kids
Mm,
that attracts them, and I think this is why at times, if you go back to David Politis and the missing 411, that you see children all of a sudden vanish because they may look at the child as a play toy
yeah.
or something along those lines, right? That I'm not sure about, but hey, can we be really sure about anything until we know, right? All
Yeah.
right, let's get to another question here from our audience. This one coming from Sovereign. Have you seen a connection between owls and Sasquatch? Are you aware of Sasquatch mimicking the owls?
Yeah, definitely. Especially around my research area in New Jersey. I've noticed that Bigfoots are a lot less vocal because I think there's a lot more people here. So I think they got to be a little more stealthy. So I think they imitate a lot of animals. I've heard very unusual coyotes, but I did when I got my best Bigfoot vocalization, which you can hear on my YouTube channel. I did a barred owl vocalization, and in return I got a response howl. Um, but yeah, I've heard them. I definitely think that I've heard some really funky owl calls before, and not, they don't sound like a real owl, but they sound like a person trying to mimic an owl, and that's, in the middle of the woods at 4 o'clock in the morning. That's weird to me.
Yeah, it's very weird. But the vocalizations, when you're in the middle of nowhere and there are no other humans within your
Oh.
vicinity, and you start hearing the vocalizations, talk about the rush that puts through your body.
Oh, man, and it's cool when, you have multiple people and you actually, you hear the vocalization, and then you all think at one time, you're all like, "No, that's not right," and then you all look at each other, and it's like, "Yeah, we did just hear that," and everybody's like, "Did you hear that?" at the same time, and you get this whole, like, "Oh, yeah, we did hear it," and then you're like, "Oh, what do we do? What do we do? Do we go towards it? Do we vocal back?" Like, then you gotta, plan on what you do, but just, you know and even if it's not a vocalization, just, like, getting a tree knock or something back, is just enough to keep you going. I know I don't get activity a lot of the times that I go out. I'd say maybe on a good year, 1 in 10 times I'll get Bigfoot activity, right? So
Yeah.
it's like on that ninth time, it's kinda like, "Man, what am I still doing?" Like, it's kinda like getting boring, going out, 9 times and not getting any Bigfoot activity, right? And then on that ninth time or the 10th time, you get that tree knock back, or you get that whoop, and it's like, "Oh, here we go." Yep. So that's what keeps you going, you
You
know?
know, it's funny because when we had our sighting last year, then about 15 minutes later, his buddy Ric Flair was deep in the forest going, woo!
Mm.
And then about 15, 20 minutes later, closer to us, woo! Again,
Oh,
I'll tell you, it was impactful. Like we were all like smiling and just thank you like for this incredible sign. And here I am yelling, "Come closer! You're more than welcome to come on up and say hello." You know, whether they heard me or not. But I'll tell you, I know that night we were surrounded.
mm.
I I could just tell that we were surrounded, and it was a pretty cool feeling to know that they were out there because it gets you on edge. It totally gets you on edge when you're right there and something that massive is right there and could, if it wanted to, rip you right apart.
Yeah. Yeah, we were in Whitehall, New York, and we got surrounded by Bigfoot, kind of similar to your experience, where we heard they were throwing not pebbles at us, but they were throwing probably little smaller golf ball sized rocks, and they were actually throwing them and hitting the trunks of trees like over our heads, like behind us, which is really weird. And you could hear like grunting sounds and tree knocks and stuff, and they were all within like 30 yards. It was one day we just had our voice recorders going. We didn't bring in any video equipment, so that's people, say, "Hey, is that why you got that activity?" Maybe, I don't know.
Mike Familant, we have him for another half an hour here on Spaced Out Radio. Hard to believe we're halfway through the show already. That's what happens when you're having fun. Hope you're having fun too with us. Spaced Out Radio continues with your questions right after this. Right on, we're clear.
Cool.
Dude, this is a great show.
Yeah,
Great
I'm
show.
having a good time. This is great. I love it.
Yeah, man.
I love the interaction with your fans and stuff. That's really wild. I wish a lot of other podcasts would do that, and it really sets you apart from a lot of other podcasts.
Well, I like Joe's comment here. I have a group of 100-pound owls that come through here about once a year. Yeah, I love that. That's pretty amazing. But yeah, man, I if you ever get to BC, come up to my territory, man. We'll go have some fun.
It really doesn't take a whole lot of persuading to get me to go anywhere. So, all you gotta really do is say, "Hey, I got a place for you to go camp for a couple nights," and really, that's all you gotta say, and I'll be up there.
Yeah, we got a place.
Okay, well, name the town, and I'll be there. Give me a couple months.
Right now, I'm going to tell you right now. Hi, Nina. How you doing? Got to wait till spring.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to be camping out in that area at about 40 below.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no. I was just camping up about 2 hours north of us in the Catskills, and we froze our tails off. It was like 20, and I was not doing too good.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, you don't want any of that, but you either want to come right in spring or better yet, once hunting season starts in September, October, Canadian Thanksgiving weekend, which is the first long weekend of October. That's always a good time in those few weeks prior to, like, hunting season starts on September 10th. So anytime in September through mid-October, that's when we get most of our action.
Yeah, you don't got to tell me twice to come up by you guys. That's for sure. And he said, "Oh man, yeah. What's a big city you're by?"
We're called 100 Mile House, 100 Mile House. Middle of nowhere, man, on top of the mountains.
Holy crap.
Mm-hmm. Way up there.
Wow. That is, I mean, I don't know if you can get more Canadian than you are, to be honest with you.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And the best stories that I get from around my area are from the logging truck drivers.
Yeah.
The logging truck drivers have some incredible stories, man. Incredible stories. From watching orbs follow their trucks up and down the mountains, to UFOs, to seeing like what looks like Bigfoot. No, Justin, Prince George is not. Kamloops, south of me, would be the biggest city, but that's 2 hours away to Taco Bell. God damn, 2 hours to Taco Bell. Who does that? Only in Canada can you be 2 hours from a Taco Bell. Right, but yeah, we're literally on top of the mountains, and the only thing that I would say is, you could come in summertime, but the mosquitoes are horrible. Number one,
right.
And number two, the fire ban due to forest fires. So that's why September, you don't get any mosquitoes in September, and you can still have a fire.
Yeah, you want to have a fire for sure.
Yeah, the fire attracts them. and especially like cooking hot dogs or whatever, right?
Yeah. Well, it's see, you got it's different up there because like, yeah, in New Jersey we have to go out and look for Bigfoot. We can't attract them to camp.
Yeah,
There's no way to do that because you're in a campsite.
yeah.
So like you have to go out and look for them. Where up by you is you just hope they come into you. You don't even have to do any hiking. Like
We don't. No, we don't. I mean, dude, there are trails up there. Like we have one area in our vicinity. Like I will not. The trail is only maybe 100 yards.
Mhm.
Okay. None of us will go in there at night. None of us can
Wow.
figure out why, but we will not go in there at night. There is something in there that just wards you off. Like stay the
Yeah.
hell away. And I have had psychic people look into that area and they're like, nope, stay out of that area. Stay out of that area. Give me 1 second here. We got 10 seconds. Thank you to Noble
Cool.
Patrick, Mama Catherine, and Jenny times 2 for the super chats. Here we go with the next half hour, everybody. Sit tight. Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We very much appreciate it. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can join us on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Final half hour with our guest tonight, Mike Familant, who has his YouTube channel filming The Big Red Eye. We're talking Sasquatch tonight. Mike, thank you so much for being here. Very much appreciate it.
Yeah, again, thanks for having me. This is great. And thank you to everybody that's listening in too from all over the world. How cool is that? That's awesome.
Totally cool. See, if people on radio can't see me, but I actually have right behind me a pincushion map of the
Oh,
world.
cool.
And so every time we get somebody in from a new country uh, listening in, I go pin on there. I think we're at like 26 or 30 countries that
Oh,
I've
that's
got
amazing.
pin on. So it's pretty cool. And then all over Canada and the United States is great as well. So unfortunately, the U.S. is too small on there to try and figure out where every single state is, but that's okay. That's okay. It's still wonderful that we get to share, the great research that people like you do with people around the world. So let's continue with our audience questions here. Let's go to Sovereign. Why do you think Sasquatch are attracted to children? I know you're not as familiar with that. I can answer that one if you want. It's up to
Go
you.
for it. Yeah.
Well, I think it's because children have an innocence to them. And they laugh, they play, they can find fun in anything. And when children are happy, they yell, they scream in high pitches, they laugh very loud. And I think that the noises that children make bring a high level of curiosity to Sasquatch. And in seeing how in my own research area with my son, and when he's been there with buddies or he's just there by himself playing, you know, we always keep him right in front of us. That's rule number one. The boy must be within our eyesight at all times, because I don't need any David Politis missing 411 stuff happening. But I honestly do believe that it's because of the innocence of the child that they don't know, they don't have any prejudgment or anything to the area. They just want to go out there and play. And that's what excites them and attracts them. That's my theory, at least. All right, Sovereign again is asking, have you noticed, Mike, UFOs or orbs in conjunction with known Sasquatch activity?
All right. So I don't necessarily believe that these two are connected, but what I will say is I touched on before this very good vocalization that we got from High Point State Park up in Northwest New Jersey here. And prior to that, I did a barred owl call to get this vocalization to reply back to me. About 15 minutes prior to this vocalization that we recorded, we saw, and there were 6 of us up there, a red light zigzagging like an M or a W just through the sky. And then 15 minutes later, we get this best Bigfoot vocalization. So I don't know if they're connected. To me, for me, that's not enough to connect the two, right? I think if it was like 30 seconds apart, then I'd be like, oh, maybe that's something that connects them. But I think that was just 2 random anomalies that happened around the same time. I don't think there's a connection between UFOs and aliens, nor I mean, orbs. Seeing orbs in the woods, I've seen them on 2 different occasions. Freaky. Have no idea what they are, but I haven't seen them in correlation to Bigfoot at all.
Just wait, my friend. The more you do, the more that woo is going to come at you and hit you with it. And I would say that the two being there together, I would say that is a synchronicity that they are. And I think you're going to see more of that. I really do.
I hope to, and I challenge anybody to try to change my opinion of my flesh and blood origins. Right? I say if you have some evidence or can take me out and show me something, please do, because I would love to change my opinion. I think that would be the coolest thing out there.
Well, hopefully that works for you. Hopefully it does. All right, let's get to another question here from our audience. To our favorite attorney at large, Michael. Mike, will you be making any presentations in Monmouth County coming up?
Monmouth County, check next October. October is my New Jersey touring date, and I'm sure he means Monmouth County in New Jersey. So that is down by the shore, down South Jersey. I was just down there not too long ago in October, but check my website, shadowredeye.com, for all my upcoming appearances.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Let's go to Sandra on Vancouver Island. Do you think Sasquatch are telepathic with wolves?
I don't know if I could get into the whole telepathy thing, but what I can say is they probably do work in conjunction. I know, like, I don't know, but I theorize that in New Jersey here, Bigfoot kind of works with the coyotes, or actually, like, the coyotes will make a kill, and then the Bigfoot will come in and kind of take their kill. I think that makes complete sense. And I think that they would probably do that with wolves as well, right? If you have a big Sasquatch come in and the wolves would make a kill, they would come in and try to steal their kill. That would make sense to me. Yep.
All right. I think that makes sense as well. Let's go back to Sovereign here. Have you investigated to find out if the Sasquatch have been caught dumpster diving in cities?
That's I have there are reports of Bigfoot dumpster diving in New Jersey, and that's kind of funny, but I know there's it's not in by the city. There's 21 counties in New Jersey, all but 6 of them have Bigfoot sightings, and those are by Philadelphia and by New York City, respectively. So I don't think Bigfoot necessarily are in by the city or by big cities. You get into areas with more population, though, I think you're going to have more sightings of Bigfoot, because you need a person and a Bigfoot to have a Bigfoot sighting. But there's been sightings in, I know, for example, in a private campground in Sussex County here in New Jersey. There was 2 reports of a dumpster diving Bigfoot about 3 years apart from each other in the same dumpster, which is very interesting.
Yeah, I find that interesting. But I mean, hey, bears do it.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
why wouldn't a Sasquatch do it?
And I think when it comes to food and Sasquatch, I think Sasquatch are going to be kind of they're going to be smart when it comes to it and be lazy. They're going to get the easiest food possible. They're going to expend the least amount of calories that they have to expend to try to get food. So if that would mean going into a dumpster and getting somebody's garbage, that makes complete and total sense. It's an
Yeah.
easy meal.
Absolutely. Free meals are better than hunting one.
And that's easier than chasing down a deer if people think that they do that, you know. That's a lot of effort to take down a deer.
Very much so. Very much so. Let's go to Marley. Why do you think they seek certain people out and their homes?
You know, I don't know. I think there's two schools of thought on that. Either some people say because they have this certain mind speak with the Bigfoot, they could communicate with them. They leave gifts. Some people leave gifting out or objects to eat, baiting type things over periods of time. That'll obviously bring animals back to the same area again and again. Um, but I think it's probably because you're just in a really good area. You know, your house was probably built in an area that they inhabited before houses were there. And again, you're probably not living in the middle of a neighborhood type of thing. You're probably out where you have a good potential activity to have, you know, wild animal activity. So yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely possible that that the Bigfoot will return to the same areas. Makes sense, right?
I had owners of a resort
Mm.
actually come up to me and say, "Hey, you're the Sasquatch guy, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're about 5 hours southeast of here, and they were supposed to call me up this summer to go investigate their property because when they opened the resort last year, they started getting people who were encountering Sasquatch.
Oh, okay.
People finding footprints on their property, hearing the hoots and the woos, and one couple actually left in the middle of the night and slept in their RV because when she and him were getting changed for bed, the window at 8 feet had a face in it staring back at them.
Mm. Hmm.
So I think it's just curiosity that maybe, you see people out on a hike and the Bigfoot gets curious what they're all about, what they're doing. Maybe they catch an odor or a smell of an aftershave or a perfume that is attracted to them, that makes them even more curious, and that's where it starts. I think
Yeah,
that's what I believe.
makes sense. Makes total sense.
All right, Potato Grouse wants to know, do Bigfoot release a smell when they're scared?
That's a great question. I don't think anybody knows the answer to that. I think it's definitely possible. I know other primates do release the smell when they're coming under attack or something like that, or they're scared. Um, I've never smelled a Bigfoot smell before. I think I've been very close to a Bigfoot. So, and the fact that I haven't smelled them may lend credence to my theory that Bigfoot can like produce its own smell at will when it wants um, to ward off predators or something like that, almost like a skunk. But I don't think they could like spray it. I think they just kind of emit it type of thing. But yeah, I think that's definitely within the Bigfoot's wheelhouse to be able to do that.
Right. Right. Yeah, definitely. And I think you're right on that on that aspect there, that it emits an odor. And it probably has to do with something that it eats, whether it's like wild onions, wild garlic, or something
Sure.
along
Hmm.
those lines that would make it a little bit more odorous, if
Yeah.
we could say that. All
And
right,
well,
go ahead.
they say this the skunk ape in South Florida smells really bad. A fun fact for you: the skunk ape actually didn't get its name because of the smell, even though it does produce like a smell, right? It actually got its name because the first report had a gray stripe going down the Bigfoot's back. Was the skunk ape.
I did not
Um,
know that.
it's fun. You learn something new every day, right?
Right on.
But what's cool about it is I think that they smell kind of bad down there is because of all the swamps that they go through. Florida's a very low-lying area, and especially down in South Florida, it's very swampy and smells bad because of the bogs and the stuff like that. So I think that's why Bigfoot kind of smell a little different down there than they would up here in, say, the Northeast or in the continental United States, really.
I agree with you. All right. We got 10 minutes to go here. Mike Familant is our guest tonight. We're having a great time. Let's go to Sovereign here. Have you come across any cryptid stick structures like teepees, leaners, etc.?
Yeah, I have, and I've come across some really interesting ones deep in the woods, uh, totally off trail. I know one in High Point State Park that I know of that's like 2.5 miles off trail. Um, but the thing about it is it's not outside of human range. I've never come across one that's like outside of human range. I'm talking about like a teepee structure or whatever. I've come across interwoven trees and stuff that are outside of human range for sure. But when it comes to like shelters and stuff like that, I've not come across anything that I can specifically say that's not a human that could have done that. Even though all indicators say that it's not a human, I can't say that it's a Bigfoot.
It's funny, about 5-6 miles from my house. Uh, if we go east here, there is. I got sent a photo of a lean-to tree structure that a bunch of hunters found. And these are people who never dealt with Sasquatch, don't believe in Sasquatch, been hunting these woods for forever and a day, came across this structure, and they were so weirded out they left the area. And
Mm,
this is an area that they've hunted deer for years. Years. Like it's nothing new for them to be in this territory.
yeah,
And all
I
of a
would
sudden they
love to
came.
come across something like that.
Me too.
That'd be wild.
Yeah, it gets pretty intense, but I mean, what other signs have you found in the forest that have caught your eye?
In New Jersey, you got a lot of like the things that nature couldn't do. That's the things that get me. Is like I kind of mentioned the interwoven tree structures. It looks like so I found some that it looked like a tornado had to have touched down only right there, and interwoven these trees so they came out like this. And now none other tree in the area is touched. That's weird to me. I've also come across, especially in Whitehall, New York, is a perfect example of. We were in there one night. This is the night we got surrounded. I was mentioning before, and we went back the next day and we found a tree break that was. Probably an 8-inch diameter tree, pretty decent sized tree, at a 90-degree angle, completely over the path. So that's something that's not natural. I mean, exactly 90 degrees. And you don't find right angles in nature. So it's to me, that's something that was probably done by a Bigfoot, especially because we had Bigfoot activity the night prior.
Right. What do you think about like the X's in the trees that are
Yeah.
woven
So I
through?
think like the breaks and X's, I think they kind of mean the same things. A lot of people, some people think that they could be like territory markers, right? I think that they could be. I think Bigfoot are nomadic, and I think that they follow the food. So I think when they return to the same area every other year, every 3 years, or every however many years their cycle is, I think that's an indicator of, hey, the berry bush or the berry patch is this way. Here's some food for you when you come back, and then in the following years, kind of like a street sign, if you will.
See, that when we first discovered our area, one of the things that I'd found a footprint, a
Hmm.
13-inch print. And then I brought my buddy Paul back with me to that area so that way we could cast the print. And as we were looking around to put a gifting site up of toys, he noticed the 3 X's and
Mm,
they were all in a row. I had only seen the one from the road, and to see it interwoven in between the trees at the top was interesting. And then we kind of were looking behind it, and he goes, Dave, check as we're setting up the gifting site. He's like, Dave, look behind you. And we looked behind, and there was this tiny little X about 40 feet away.
mhm.
And we could not find the stump that the one was ripped off of.
Yeah,
Okay. Now, when we're talking only a tree about this big,
right.
okay, but there was the X. And then we come out back to the logging road, and Paul goes, "Oh my God." I said, "What?" He goes, "Look across the road." And there was a giant X in the trees there as well.
Nice.
So we had 3 in a row with a road in between, and right at the second one is where we put the gifting site. We've had nothing happen there. The gifting site, I'll be honest with you, our gifting site has been useless. Absolutely useless. But at least they know it's there. And
if they want to go there, they can. It's open to them. Yep.
I think the mistake I've made with this gifting site is I put a mirror up there.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I wanted to see if I could get some print, anything. The only time the mirror has moved was when we first put it up, and it was knocked down from the tree. Could have been a bear, could have been a deer, could have been anything. Okay. Yeah. But the weird part about it is the handle of the mirror, just a dollar store mirror, the handle of the mirror was tucked into the grass. And it was the mirror part was facing the grass, but the handle was tucked in. And I don't know how that would have happened. I mean, it's easy to say, well, the animal maybe kicked it and it pushed it under or whatever. But if something's going to fall, it's going to fall flat on top. And it's probably going to spook an animal by it falling.
Yeah. But
with the handle tucked into the grass, I just can't explain that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But nothing else then. That was it.
Nothing else has moved there.
Huh.
Nothing. All right, let's go to Tony here in the UK. Mike, why do you think we haven't caught a good video of them? I've heard they can see in the dark and infrared. Why haven't we used or sussed this out yet?
Yeah, I think that's there are good videos. I mean, you can look at the Passion Gilma and stuff like that. Everybody knows the good ones. There's one out of Provo, Utah, one throwing a rock, a recent one that's pretty cool. So there are definitely there's good videos out there. I'm not saying there's the best videos. That's not HD high quality videos out there, but there will be come as the advancement of technology and everybody's, I got my new phone the other day. I got like 3 or 4 cameras on this thing. I mean, I don't even know what they all do, but that's going to get an HD picture of Bigfoot. I think they could see in the dark. I think they have reflecting eyes, which lucida tapetum is the technical term is the reflecting of the eyes with ambient light. Animals have it, your cat and dogs have it, and any animal that can see at night has this night vision. And I think Bigfoot have that as well because of reports of them giving off different color eye shine. What's interesting is animals of the same species always have the same color eye shine. So why does Bigfoot of the same species have different colors? Why are there different reports of different color eye shine throughout the same species of a Bigfoot? That doesn't make any sense. So that's very interesting, right?
Right. I agree. All right, let's go. I think the other thing too is, what is a good video? What may be a good video for me is not a good video for you. There's a lot of people out there who believe that every video is fake. There's a lot of people out there who believe every video is real. Even though you can see the CGI behind it or whatever it may be. And I think, that's, and I hate to say this, Tony, because I know you're here every day, but I think that's a really, it's become such a vague question because we don't know what proof is anymore. We don't trust the proof that is out there. And that also leads to Lee's question from the UK. Why is there no thermal image footage of a Sasquatch?
Yeah, well, we have the Stacy Brown Jr. footage from Torreya State Park in Florida. That's a pretty good thermal imaging capture of Bigfoot. The reason why we don't have many thermal imaging things is because we don't have a lot of people with thermal imaging cameras in the woods. The only people that really have thermal imaging technologies that are looking for Bigfoot are Bigfoot researchers, and maybe every other researcher has one, but it's still not a lot of people out in the woods looking for them. And you got to get ones that record and stuff like that. I think I mentioned, I think the best way that we're going to get proof of Bigfoot is through thermal drones, and that's just I want to get one, but I just need to do a ton more libraries before I'm able to afford one of them. You know.
Right. All right. We got about 10 seconds here. I want to say a big thank you, Mike, for coming on Spaced Out Radio and sharing your story of the big red eye and all your research around the world of Sasquatch. Good luck to you in the field, my friend.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. It was a great time.
We're going to do it again. Definitely. Mike Familant, everybody. Coming up next, Among the Missing with Steve Stockton. Then right after that, Courtney Marcassani returns for the UFO Report. We're going to be right into it heavy in hour 3 of Spaced Out Radio coming up next. Stay tuned. Rock and roll, Mike. Rock and roll. That was a good show.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on again. That was really cool.
Hey, dude, anytime, man. Anytime you want to come on, just let me know. And yeah, shadowofredeye.com is the website that you can track down, and keep up the good work. And like I said, if you want to come up here in September, October next year, let me know, man. The house is open.
Okay. All right. We'll be in touch for sure. And I got your email, so we'll definitely be in touch.
Yeah. All right, brother. Take care.
Have a good night, man.
Good night. Mike Familant, everybody. Great dude, eh? Just a great dude. All right, Courtney's in the hot seat next. I'll be right back, everyone. All right. I am back. Good to have you all here with us. All right. What a great guy that Mike Familant is. Great interview. Old Dirty Filth hit a home run with that one. Hit a home run. Hey, guys, want to say thank you to Jenny ×2, Catherine, Noble Patrick, and T-Bone for the great super chats tonight. Very much appreciate the love and support. I do. Don't worry, Tim. The silence won't be deafening too long. We're going to have some stuff for the breaks here coming up here within the next few weeks. So we're working on it. We are working on it diligently. I'm not going to lie. I got a good hair day going today. So who's coming to Reno? Who's coming to Reno May 10th through 12th, 2024 for the 3rd annual SOR fan party? I'm going to be there. Our entire team's going to be there. We got some special guests coming for you. You get the free radio show. You get the VIP party, which has a swag bag, and much more happening in Reno May 10th through 12th. Connect with us. Tickets are $100 for VIP, $60 for other ones. Go to info@spacedoutradio.com and let us know. Here we go, everybody.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the 3rd and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. You can join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Lampedodronomy. Lampedodronomy is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can join us on Patreon in the SOR Space Travelers Club. It is that time of the night where we say hello to Steve Stockton from the YouTube channel Among the Missing for another creepy story.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. The Barker Dam Trail is a brief hike that leads to an old water source used by Native Americans in the past. According to local legends, the trail is believed to be haunted by the spirits of the Chimiwave people who were displaced from the area by European settlers. The Chimiwave held the area in high regard, believing it to be sacred, and that the spirits of their ancestors are rumored to reside there still. Watch for unusual rock formations as you hike along this trail. Some hikers have reported feeling a sense of peace or reverence, as if they're in the presence of something sacred. Others claim to have seen ghostly apparitions or heard chanting in the distance. Next, we have the Wall Street Mill Trail. The Wall Street Mill Trail is an intermediate hike that leads you through a fascinating gold mining area. The mine was used to process gold ore and was abandoned in the 1940s. Some people believe that the spirits of the mill's former workers still haunt the area. Be alert for shadowy figures or unusual lights when exploring the old mill. Several hikers have reported feeling uneasy, as though they were being watched. Some have even heard whispers and footsteps coming from the empty mill. Next, we have the Lost Horse Mine Trail. The Lost Horse Mine Trail takes you to the remains of an old gold mine. It's believed that the mine is haunted by the ghost of a miner who died in a tragic mining accident. Legend says his spirit still roams the area, searching for lost gold. The Lost Horse Mine Trail has a chilling reputation. Many hikers have felt a cold breeze, even amid hot summer temperatures. Others have reported hearing pickaxes striking rocks when no one else is nearby. Lastly, we have Graham Parsons. Country rock musician Graham Parsons passed away just outside Joshua Tree National Park at the Joshua Tree Inn. However, as per his last request, his friend stole his body off the tarmac at LAX and disposed of it by burning it. In January 2023, 58-year-old avid adventurer and hiker Anna Nuno of Lakewood, California, fell and hit her head in Rattlesnake Canyon, an area inside the Indian Cove district of Joshua Tree National Park. Authorities said how Anna fell was unclear, but there was no suspicion of foul play. Park rangers and search and rescue volunteers responded to Anna's aid after receiving notification by cell phone of an injured hiker. However, she sadly succumbed to her head trauma, according to the Desert Sun News. According to the Los Angeles Times, Rattlesnake Canyon features a 2.6-mile trail near 29 Palms that takes just over an hour to complete. The sheriff's office reported that Rattlesnake Canyon and the Wonderland of Rocks area are challenging to navigate due to their remoteness, difficult terrain, and lack of cell phone service. Kiki Nuno, Anna's daughter, said, "Our mother was a kind, caring, and giving person who always put the needs of her family before her own. She was a strong woman who faced every challenge in her life with courage and dignity. Our mother was a source of inspiration to us all and will be deeply missed by everyone whose lives she touched." Next up, Trammell Evans. According to the National Park Service, 25-year-old avid hiker Trammell Evans was last seen on April 30, 2023, when he was dropped off at the Black Rock Campground in the northwest corner of Joshua Tree National Park. Trammell planned to hike from Black Rock to Geology Tour Road, then back to Black Rock via the California Riding and Hiking Trail, National Park Service officials said in a news release. He was supposed to be picked up on May 5 at 11 a.m. by a friend, but he was not there and was reported missing. Park Service officials initiated a search and rescue on May 5, 2023. The search team consisted of highly trained trackers, searchers, and climbers familiar with the area and aerial searches, park officials said. Trammell's mother, Amy Evans, has received unconfirmed tips that he has been spotted alive in Slab City and Wonder Valley. These sightings remain unconfirmed by the family's private investigator. Sadly, Trammell is still missing at the time of this video. He's described as being 6'3" tall and weighing 190 pounds. He has reddish-brown hair, brown eyes, and facial hair. He was last seen wearing a silver, white, and gray sun hoodie, a black Patagonia puffy vest, blue shorts, blue shoes, a black REI backpack, an egg crate-style sleeping pad, a dark green beanie, and a Patagonia fanny pack. Anyone with information regarding Trammell's disappearance or whereabouts is asked to contact the National Park Service at 888-653-0099, or you can call 909-383-5652.
And we say thank you to Steve Stockton for another amazing story here on Spaced Out Radio, where he brings in creepy adventures and stories each and every night, Monday through Friday, to kick off hour number 3. If you want more, all you got to do is head on over to Among the Missing on YouTube, hit subscribe, and you can listen to his stories for free. From the mysterious to the more mysterious, it is that time of the night where we go to the UFO Report.
Nobody's gonna know. They're gonna know.
It's good to have Courtney Marcassani back with us after she needed a week off last week to deal with some family matters, but we're good to have her back this week. And man, has there been a lot of UFO news coming on out of the woodworks in the last few days, especially. Courtney, we'll get you to unmute your microphone if you don't mind, and let's get right to it. Right now, earlier this morning, the Scientific Coalition of UAP Studies, better known as the SCU, released a press release today calling on Congress to pass the Schumer Rounds UAP Disclosure Act. I'll read this for you and our audience. It states today, as of the Scientific Coalition of UAP Studies released the following statement. The SCU strongly encourages House, Senate, Conference Committee members to include the bipartisan Schumer Rounds UAP Disclosure Act amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act. We support the sharing of data, the practice of science, and above all, transparency. There's that word again. Decades of excessive government secrecy surrounding UAP are anti-ethical to our nation's democratic ideals. As Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and his bipartisan colleagues said when announcing the amendment, keeping UAP records from the public at large is simply unacceptable. We agree.
We agree. We agree. I love that. I love that at the end. Well, I know the writer, so I have to send him a note and say, we agree, just as a fine point to put on the end point. It was such a crazy day. I mean, it's just been such a whirlwind day in terms of this amendment. So all of the folks in Congress are in their committees, and they're talking about, the appropriations and the NDAA and approving the new the budget for the next year. And so this press release comes out in the middle of a Twitter storm where Schumer comes on, and there's a soundbite where he's basically saying, we're trying to get this passed. The American public wants to have this answered once and for all. They're curious. We need to know. And then he kind of says, then we can't get it passed because there's people, the Republicans mainly, he points out, right? He points to like 4 or 5 main Republicans that are against it. And that the only reason it might not pass is because they're trying to kill it. And that's what he said in the soundbite. And so the SCU press release comes out, and on top of that, the New Paradigm Institute is sending out their press release, getting everybody to try to bolster support and still contact their representatives, congressional representatives. And it's just madness, because when the SCU press release comes out, everybody's like, oh, it's dead. The Schumer Rounds Amendment's dead, And so then later, afterwards, and after the soundbite comes out, other people come on and say, it's not dead. It's just drama. There's still hope. But for the most part, I've heard that it's dead.
Well,
so
let's
been
hear
a
from
long day.
Let's hear from Chuck Schumer here.
Yeah.
On C-SPAN.
While it's not related to China, House Republicans are also attempting to kill another common sense bipartisan.
We're going to restart.
While it's not related to China, House Republicans are also attempting to kill another common sense bipartisan measure passed by the Senate, which I was proud to co-sponsor with Senator Rounds as the lead sponsor, to increase transparency around what the government does and does not know about unidentified aerial phenomena. Unidentified aerial phenomena generate intense curiosity for many Americans, and the risk for confusion and misinformation is high if the government isn't willing to be transparent. The measure I championed with Senator Rounds would create a board, just like we did with the JFK assassination records, to work through the declassification of many government records on UAPs. This model's been a terrific success for decades. It should be used again with UAPs, but once again, House Republicans are ready to kill this bipartisan provision. Now we're going to get the NDAA done this year, just like we have for more than 6 decades.
Well, I mean, there we go. I mean,
there it is.
And Ross Coulthard is reporting that it is a dead deal on the Schumer Amendment. I mean, look, are we seeing a real divide in the Republican Party regarding this subject by those who are staunch military industrial complex supporters? In God we trust, as long as we're making bombs and jet fighters and whatever it may be. And compared to, you look at the Anna Lunas, the Tim Burchetts, the Matt Gaetzes of the world that are, a little bit more up to date, shall we say, with what the people want to know about, and are more open to the idea of UFO transparency.
Yes, there is a lot of support, huge support. I think overwhelming support for it in a lot of ways. The people who are up to date, even the people who are not up to date, I still think there's support for it. But one of the reasons why there is dissension is because these powerful, like legacy Republicans are coming out and saying and threatening other people on their committees, if you vote for this, you're going to get kicked off the committee. So there's a lot of threats happening, even with people who are garnering support. And it's discouraging. And I think it's important that people realize that this has been going on for a long time. It's just more out in the open now, where there are people who want to support it, but they're being told don't, because it's a killer and you'll get kicked off your committee. Or even worse, we're going to put an opposing candidate up against you so that you get kicked out and you don't get to run. So I think a lot of this historical battling that we've heard about for so long is now finally coming out into the open. So that's one of the good things, even though it might not pass. It shows the threats, the intimidation, the deep state, how powerful it is, and people who have been intimidated by this and haven't been able to get involved with it, and the reasons why.
Let me ask you this. Don't you think that Republicans who are shooting this down really are opening themselves up to a lot of future questions about what the American government and military are truly hiding? Because if there was nothing to hide, there's no reason for this not to go through.
Well, absolutely. And the other argument in that same vein is that because they're shooting it down, and because the way that they've come out and gone against it proves that there is something there. That's the other part of that argument that I like, that just goes to show that why would they block it? Why would they make such big moves to block this if there wasn't something there and there wasn't an agenda? So that's the other thing that you can kind of get to that foregone conclusion, that disclosure isn't happening with this amendment because they know that they have to protect their secrets. So that's another good thing that's come about because of this. It brings awareness to it. If you can be, positive, that's one way to be positive about it.
Yeah, I mean, that to me is something that is very scary. It is something that is very scary, that the military we're actually watching the military industrial complex led by certain Republican people who've made a lot of money personally off of protecting their military investments in their areas of voting and in their states and everything. And I think I wish the American public would wake up a little bit more to see the truth of what's going on. The real transparency in my mind, and I'm curious your thoughts, Courtney, is the idea that we are watching a public battle for the first time between the military industrial complex and the American elected public, who is trying to get to the answers that their own country and laws are hiding these secrets from.
And there's a huge, long history of it, from Project Blue Book, right? The Robertson panel. I mean, there's been public outcry before. Like, we want to know what's in our skies, the pressure on the Air Force to go in and dig down into reports and flaps and more upticks of sightings and things. And people wanted answers. And we got told that it was swamp gas, essentially, right, by our own government. There's nothing to see here. Move along. And so the party line this whole time has been deny, deny, and deny. So now that there's finally some truth coming out about all this history, it's just astonishing. It's a staggering amount of attention that's being brought to it, to this pressure point to get it to explode. And so I think that the military industrial complex is obviously fearful about loss of control, and that's why they're continuing to keep the control of the narrative. The problem is it's not going to work for them anymore now. You can't really put this genie back in the bottle, and they know it. So it'll have to be, if they feel they want to quell this and maybe people will look away or go back to the way it was, they'll release something. They'll release something to appease people and just say, give them a little, a breadcrumb. But I don't think that's going to be possible either, because of the way that people like Danny Sheehan have witnesses lined up to come out for this whole catastrophic disclosure. And they're threatening to push it if they don't get a controlled disclosure. That's the other piece of this, the other chess, the puzzle piece that's going to come out that many people are hoping for. I did see that Lou Elizondo came out today. Remember when we were talking about this? I think it was last week or the week before. And I said, people are concerned because there's no plan B. And I said, well, a good plan B would be for Lou Elizondo to come out. Well, he came out today. He came out today on Twitter and said, we have a plan B and a plan C. So people who are waiting for this and in fear of the military industrial complex, I think that there's going to be another game plan, which is good.
Yeah, Elizondo went on to say, we know now where the vulnerabilities of the beachhead lie and where the incoming fire is from. This is extremely important and valuable for disclosure. So basically what he's saying there is the pieces of the puzzle that were holding this back due to the military industrial complex have now shown their teeth. We know who's controlling it, and they have now gone public. And that's a big step in trying to get around these old timers who've been there forever. And, now what they have to do is they have to, if I was in that position, and maybe I'm repeating myself here with 2 minutes to go here, but if I was in that position, I would be going to the Republican Party members and saying, you see what these old timers are doing? We talk about being behind the times. People complain about our party being behind the times. Look what they're doing. They're holding secrets that we thought only China, Russia, and places like Iran and North Korea do. Our government is doing it to us.
Chess is all about controlling like the middle of the board, right? And so they were trying to, what he's saying, I think, additionally, is they had to bring them out. They had to bring them out and show the vulnerability and show their bellies of their opponents. So now that they can strike. And so it's going to be interesting to see the next strike and how that's going to come about. So watch closely, because it's going to be like a domino effect. It's going to be really neat, I think. And so I have a little bit of hope, even though everybody's bummed out about this amendment likely being killed today. I think that having Lou Elizondo come out, like we talked about, just shows that, we were on it. We were on it here at SOR.
Hey,
we're calling it. Yeah.
We've been on a number of things that we've been able to say, I told you so for.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the benefit of what we do with these reports on a nightly basis. But I mean, the fact that as we got about a minute to go here, that the Schumer Amendment is all but done right now. And now it pushes this story behind the scenes. What does this do for information now coming out? Who have you talked to who is now trying to lead the way, so to speak, in trying to refresh this story to get the information out?
My God, I was on the phone all day long today talking with various people about what's to come. And I think one of my biggest takeaways after talking with everybody is just to some degree, it's the same old. So we're going to have to be patient, as we always have been, but it's going to be the witnesses. It's going to be the 40 witnesses that are lined up. And I think, and from the people I'm talking to, that Danny Sheehan has, because he's basically come out and said, we want this to go nicely. We want to work with them. This Schumer Amendment is a way for it to be controlled and the government to have say over the narrative. And he's like, and if they don't pass this, it's going to be the witnesses and more that come out. I mean, they're talking about having tapes of non-human intelligence being interrogated by the U.S. government. So that's going to come out. It's going to be one of the things that comes out.
Interrogation of aliens. We'll get more with Courtney Marcassani on the UFO Report When we return after this break on Spaced Out Radio, the secrets are deep. The deep state doesn't want us to know about them. Let's break it on open next on the Mighty SOR. This is serious rock and roll tonight. Serious
Well,
rock.
I tried to have my rock and roll cat here be on the camera, Putty, because you guys have blubber, but she just bit me. She was like, I will not go on camera. So her fat butt is laying here next to my computer. And I'm like, dang, Putty, you're missing out on all the goodness.
Dang,
She's just
Putty.
out. She's just out, crashed out. I don't know how you could miss it. I mean, this is big stuff, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
He doesn't care. I care.
I don't get it.
What a day. It started at 6 a.m. Sounded like an airliner was crashing outside my back door here. I was out early in the morning letting the dog out. And I don't know what it was, but this huge sound coming over the woods. And I just stood there listening to it thinking, okay, this is it. This is the end. And you know what? I didn't figure out what it was. Just bizarre. Just bizarre stuff happens here on the farm routinely.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
Yeah.
I miss that high strangeness.
You don't have high strangeness?
You know what? My house has been so quiet for the longest time. I don't know why. I really don't know why. But I know what I have to do to bring it back.
Well,
And
there you have it.
Yeah, that'll start in the new year. I have to take more time for me for meditation.
Yes.
And to concentrate on bringing it back in. So that's what we'll see what we'll do.
Good. Yeah, we have what's called an energy transfer station right on the other side of our woods. And I think it had something to do with that. I was going to go over there, but it was 6 a.m. And I'm like, dang, I don't want to be out there walking around in the dark at 6, but I'm pretty sure it has something to do with that transfer station. It's like a Stranger Things, compound over there.
Oh, yeah. Well, Simon says maybe you're on the right track, Dave, and don't need pushing. Oh, there's a lot that need. The one thing about it is once you have the experience, it becomes addicting. And I'm trying to figure out, okay. There's little Timmy Senor. Little Timmy Senor. Oh, yeah. But sometimes you have, just like, you know what? Just like an old friend, sometimes you have to call up that friend. You have to take the initiative and call up that friend.
Phone a friend. Phone a friend, Dave.
Exactly what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be phoning a friend. And what we're going to be doing is we got a few people around here that we're going to create a meditation group. And there's somebody in that group, Pauline. She was on the show. Phil and Pauline were on the show last week or the week before last, and talking paranormal. Pauline is extremely powerful as a medium. She doesn't quite understand how powerful she is with everything. And like when you stand around her, it just the energy that comes off her is so ripe for the picking. And she just doesn't know how to open up to things like UFOs or aliens or telepathy or cryptids. And it kind of scares her a little bit.
Yeah.
But her husband is a major healer, and she trusts me to walk her through the process. So in January, I think we're going to start going through that process once a week. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Nice. Well,
Yeah.
I was reminded, I can't remember Oh yeah. So I was in New York, and it was at the Inquirer Anomalous, and I was talking to somebody about this specific issue, saying, well, there's these various locations, and the person I was talking to was saying, yeah, it's not about the location, it's about the people that are doing it, that are doing the meditations, that are doing the CE5s or whatever. It's about the specific people. And I was reminded of that, of what you're talking about. And that's of huge importance. But I think it often gets overlooked, when you hear about sightings or you hear about experiences. But it is about the people involved. So
we got 10 seconds to go here. Big thank you to T-Bone, Jenny ×2, Mama Catherine, and Noble Patrick. We love you. And thank you to everybody who's subscribed and hit the thumbs up. Here we go. Final half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway with the UFO Report and Courtney Marcassani. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We very much appreciate earning your listening ears. A reminder to all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. We continue on with Courtney Marcassani in the UFO Report, and we are talking about looking like we've lost the Schumer Amendment, which means zero transparency on the UFO front. Good God, it's gone. And some people are loving this, saying it wasn't enough in the UFO community. Others are saying it was a start, and we got to start somewhere. Courtney, where do you stand on it?
Well, when I heard Hal Puthoff talk about the 2004 or 2008 survey that they had given these special contractors who were in special access programs to do the surveys, where it was rating specific topics about disclosure. And one of them being, the contractor piece, right? Contracting work out to private contractors. They were given this scale, +9 or -9. How would this topic be affected by disclosure? And one of the things that Hal said that he was surprised by is all the surveys was pretty much negatively rated, that disclosure would affect them negatively. And he was telling us at the Soul Symposium that there would be no full disclosure because of the IRAD monies, which is basically the special research and development money that goes to contractors. And it's pretty much unregulated. And there's no oversight. It's built into the budget, the defense budget, the Pentagon. It's not accounted for. And so he was saying then at Soul Foundation or Soul Symposium that back in 2004 and 2008, the government was saying, well, if we can't control this, there will be no full disclosure because of the IRAD monies. And so I'm looking at this Disclosure Act today, right? This is 2 decades later from when Hal Puthoff was going through this survey, right? That they put out, basically like a litmus test for disclosure. And I'm thinking to myself, we're 20 years down the line from that, and we still don't have disclosure. So the Disclosure Act, for me, was a positive step forward. If the government was saying back then we were never going to have a full disclosure, we're not going to have a full disclosure, but at least we would have gotten some type of controlled disclosure where we would get some information, but we're still at the whim of the controllers. And so it's very much depressing in many ways, because if the act doesn't pass, then if catastrophic disclosure doesn't work, we're still not going to get anything. So it's a mixed bag. So I'm conflicted about it.
I can see where you're conflicted in regards to the act. But once again, when you see the word transparency being thrown around by the SCU, by the Schumer Amendment, the lack of it, we didn't have transparency in the first place, Courtney.
No.
I mean, at what point At what point is can we need to if we need to axe anything, it's the word transparency when it comes to UFOs.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You have this idealistic vision that we're going to get, some kind of massive data dump of everything that's been collected over the last 75 years. Even with the Disclosure Act, it wasn't going to work that way. There was going to be a presidential panel that was set up, right, by these various groups. 3 of them were named. The New Paradigm Institute was one of them. Americans for Safe Aerospace was another one, and the Soul Foundation was going to be the third. So you got 3 different organizations that would essentially be electing, right, representatives to this 9-committee panel, which would then have 30 days to get approved by the president. So if this gets enacted, these are the first steps, right? And so you have to think about this. Then they're going to use this JFK style, secrecy with documents, right, to bring things out past 25 years or whatever. And some things would be immediately disclosed if they're not classified. And then there would be this whole other process for classified documents. So it was never going to be full disclosure. That wasn't going to happen. But it would have been a good start to at least giving the American public back some of their tax dollars that were invested in all this and kept secret. That would have been a positive step forward. But it was still very complicated even after the act got passed.
I'm surprised you mentioned Ryan Graves' group in that. How did they move up the totem pole so quickly? Because if I were to list my group of how can I put it? My group of people who are looking for disclosure for dollars, this would be one of the ones at the top of my list.
Well, I think that, they are supposed to be, highly credible people that are trying to champion, airspace. And so I think that's one of the reasons why, because they had people who went to the hearing and testified, Ryan Graves being one of them. And so people lined up behind him to support his organization. And he was one of the supposed first, right? So I think that that's one of them. Obviously, Danny Sheehan's organization, he's been established for a long time in different types of legal action and different types of cases. And he also represents Lou Elizondo. And so he's got that credibility. And so I think if you look at those organizations, and Soul Foundation being one of the newest, but also having a whistleblower, David Grush being one of them, I think that they all had people that were linchpin people to get the amendment passed. So that's why, they had people who weighed in on it from their organizations.
Are they working together, or are they all sidebarring with each other?
They're definitely, I mean, when you're talking about the sidebar, I think it's probably along those lines where they communicate and they probably cross communicate and support one another. They're standalone groups, but I think that they have different people that work within their groups that communicate about what's going on. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. And so if they're all kind of teaming up and playing together, who's working for the people?
Danny Sheehan, I think, is definitely working for the people. He's talking about being the citizen group that represents citizens. And he's also talking about sociological impacts. He's talking about theological groups and religions and how they might have to change their theological philosophies because of non-human intelligence and us being the human family. And so he seems to be the one who's representing social and civilian interests from my perspective.
Okay. So outside of Danny Sheehan, who's been doing this since, Nixon was being tried for Watergate. Okay. I mean, realistically, is there anybody working towards the true public in regards to disclosure?
There's different groups. There's different groups. I mean, you saw SCU, they did their press release. They're working for themselves, but you see other people that are out there working for the good and more social reasons for truth to get out to the public, but they're not as powerful. right? They don't have a powerful lobby behind them like somebody like Danny Sheehan might be able to pull from public support, because people are always looking for like an organization, a credible organization to get behind, to throw their support behind. So you see various interests, you see various small groups, you see individual lobbyists, but you don't see groups like that that are well established and have that kind of track record like Danny Sheehan does with New Paradigm Institute.
Well, that's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, because right now I don't see anything really working, and nor do we actually see anything that is actually working towards the betterment of the public. I mean, this is a bunch of word salad here that's kind of been pushed together for the sake of transparency and the UFO topic. Yet really, I think what we're seeing by Lou Elizondo's latest tweets and what we're seeing from all these other groups is that they're circling the wagons and teaming up with media, with media personalities, with people who are within the military or ex-military, like David Grush, eyewitnesses, and they're circling the wagons around wagons that have already been circled by the military-industrial complex.
Well, we've already seen what happened to Lou Elizondo when he came out, and whether he leaked the tapes out of the Pentagon or he got approval or however that happened, you saw how the Department of Defense came out after him. I mean, they went after him and they, took his emails and they threatened him. And, it's a serious game that they're playing. They're rallying support around their wagons and, the wagons that have already been circled to try to form a group of people who were either once on the inside and are now out for various reasons, or they're still in and they're halfway out and they want to be able to support one another. And so that group, that core group of individuals, we all know who they are. They seem to be the ones who are taking the risk now and have the power center or the power nerve, the center nerve. And there's a lot of groups around them that are trying to work towards it as well. But what can they do besides have outcry and gnash their teeth and do what we've all been doing the whole time? So our hope now with this plan B is that their strategy is going to work and they won't be threatened or intimidated into holding back. That'll be the concern.
So where do we go from here? What's the next couple weeks before Christmas? And does this now, because we're going into the Christmas holiday here very soon, take a back seat until the new year?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because just a week ago, you heard people say that the Schumer Amendment was dead and it was going to be another 7 years, right, for disclosure. But now you're seeing this week, just a week later, that Schumer rounds, it came back again. There was new life, and now again, it's dead again. And so, but now you see that there's this plan B and plan C. And so it's definitely going to wait. It's definitely going to wait. They're playing a long game. So if Schumer rounds doesn't go through, then we're going to be waiting months. And the reason why we're going to be waiting is because they're going to have to play this delicate hand of theirs. And they're going to have to do it in a way that protects their whistleblowers and protects their witnesses. So we're going to have to wait.
Why do you think, and I'm going to take a step back here for a quick second. Okay. Why do you think that nobody has ever gone after Representative Mike Rogers and the other Mike for really disparaging veteran David Grush? Okay. You never, ever hear a politician disparage a veteran. And yet these gentlemen did because he was a whistleblower.
Right, because they don't like whistleblowers. I mean, that's one reason. They hate whistleblowers, just like they hate people like Edward Snowden, who leaked information because they feel it's unpatriotic. But I feel like, the reason why they've been able to get away with it is because he's the most outspoken. And so on some level, the veteran part of this and being protective of our own veterans and their service has dissolved because he's in the crosshairs. And so he's going to be the one they're going to make an example of so other whistleblowers don't come out. That's part of their tactic in this whole game.
Okay. So in that sense, is the Turner and group that's defying the UAP subject on the Schumer rounds amendment, are they trying to break this down piece by piece, or are they just attacking the whole UFO/UAP system?
They're taking it apart piece by piece. They don't want the eminent domain part of the language in the Disclosure Act. There's been discussions pretty much that was a deal breaker, that there was no way that those Republicans who have ties to Lockheed Martin and other contractors that have received money, that they were ever going to let it pass with eminent domain language in the Disclosure Act. So that was one of the big deal breakers.
So remind people who may not be familiar with eminent domain what that means.
That means the government, if there is some type of property or land or use that they need, the government can come in and say, we get to use this because it's needed for special infrastructure or whatever. In this context, it means that if there is metamaterials, a craft, an engine, any kind of technology, the government would be able to come in once it was discovered through these special access programs. If they came out, the government would be able to come in and say, this is eminent domain. This is ours now. We're going to take this. And the reason that threatens the contractors is because they fear they would lose their intellectual property rights to those technologies.
Okay, so the next real term that is jumped into the woodworks here is catastrophic disclosure. This is a term that is kind of new, but people are saying that, that it may not be the government after all that is going after this catastrophic disclosure. It may be the aliens that create it themselves, or some type of ontological shock. What's your thoughts on this?
Well, that's been one of the underpinnings this whole time with this whole disclosure, is that there is a presence on the earth and they want to be revealed. And whether it's the NHI themselves pushing this, and that's one of the reasons why the government wants to get out in front of it, that's been one theory. It's been a far out theory, but it's definitely in the discussion. The other issue about NHI that's recently come out, and many researchers will know this, is that there was always rumors. Linda Moulton Howe, Bob Lazar, other people have talked about the government having a hostage, essentially, an Eben. And that's coming out now. I mean, it's being validated by the lawyer who's representing the whistleblower, saying that the government has an EBE, and they have interrogated him or her in a private base, and there's documentation of it. And Danny Sheehan has basically said that he got 2 or 3 different people, witnesses on the record, to validate this. And so that's part of this, is that there's another species and the government's covering it up, and it's not their role to hide another intelligent species that's either on this planet or from another planet that got here. And so that's one of the other huge reasons why people are bringing up the NHI is behind this, because they might be.
Could very well be.
It's plausible.
With 3 minutes to go here, how important is the next few days of this week?
I don't know that it is that important. If they're saying that the people that are in committee right now are voting it down because of these powerful Republicans, it could be dead. We'll have to wait and see. I did my part and sent requests to my congressional representatives, and I would encourage other people to do the same thing. Send your script, ask for support. It's never too late to let them know that we want disclosure, but it could be done. So, a lot of people were saying it's not going to get voted on until the 21st, but if they're in the committees today in the next few days, it'll be done in the next few days. They'll have their votes decided.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so, because in the end, somebody's going to get screwed, whether it's the people, who it usually is, whether it's the UFO public, whether it's government affairs, whether it's Lockheed Martin. Somebody is getting screwed out of this, no matter how far it goes. Do we see an end to that bipartisanship because of this now between the Republicans and the Democrats?
No, what we're seeing is the individuals who are out forward facing, representing Lockheed Martin and the others. And so the game will become much more deceptive. It'll become much more about the behind the scenes things that happen. But in the end, we get screwed. Yeah, the taxpayers get screwed. The UFO people who have been in this field for a long time get screwed because we don't get to have disclosure by our own government. It's going to come about another way. So, the game gets deeper, the game gets thicker, but the people who are always at this and have been in it and the researchers will still get good information and good data for people who are working in it, who are working on the scene. So I'm reassured by that. Even though we get screwed one way, hopefully we won't get screwed another.
Well, let's just hope that the government lube is a little bit more gentle this time than the way we're used to.
A gentle screwing. Yeah, let's hope.
I mean, let's just hope, because with this subject so up in the air right now, I don't even know where to turn. I can say this with some confidence. From what I'm hearing, we're going to see over the next few months a lot of this go behind the scenes and go behind the doors again, because they are going to look how to clean up this story. And I think they're going to look at how to shut some people up. What are you hearing?
Yeah, there's definitely going to be threats and intimidation. I don't know if it's going to be more and more heavy-handed than what these people have already dealt with. But I do know that there are people for truth, there are truthers in this that want things to come out. And so I think it'll become a bit more dangerous game once it's out of the public eye with the Schumer Amendment. But I still think that they're going to plow forward because they've been at it for a long time. We're talking about people who've been in this, like Hal Puthoff, for how many years?
Right.
40 years plus?
Decades.
Yeah.
Decades. Courtney Marcassani, thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio with the UFO Report. Stick around for a couple of minutes if you don't mind, because we got to shut this thing down. And I know that our YouTube audience, as we continue there, might have a couple of questions for you. But thank you for a great report tonight and keeping us up to date on everything UFO. What an amazing show tonight, talking Bigfoot with Mike Familant, Steve Stockton, and Courtney for bringing the goods to you. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, guess what? We've got room for them too. Good night. I'm leaving that meow in the end.
Did you hear it right at the end? The big finish? The big flourish? Meow.
Totally leaving that in.
Another nation heard from.
Yep. Good job, Puss. You made the show.
She's such a stink pot. So how about that breakdown? Quite a lot to cover.
It was hard tonight.
Yeah. Not an easy day, not an easy beginning to the week. It's going to be a hard week. If today is any indication, like I said, it was all day long on phone calls and talking to folks. And there's so much confusion. It's crazy.
Oh yeah.
By design. This confusion is by design. It's what it feels like.
100% it is. You know, I mean, we're in the screw you realm right now.
Totally.
You know,
my job for sure.
Yeah. I mean, we are in the realm where people are flexing their muscles.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing. They're flexing their muscles, trying to see who's going to ruin the kid's party.
Well, there's going to be, I don't want to say violence, but there's such a wave, right, of anticipation by everybody in this community. I mean, I've just been astonished by some of the evidence that's coming out, some of the old stories, like Philip Corso's book, and parts of that I heard from good, reliable sources, that half of it was fictitious, and that the original draft was not, but what the public got was this whole spin. So now Philip Corso is now being, his work is now being brought out for validation about disclosure. And then other stories like Bob Lazar's and the Yellow Book. So I was talking to somebody who was like, go back and read it now. And I'm like, my God, some of these old sources are coming out now as modern evidence, which is another just mind bender. And, tapes that were leaked that were supposedly false, but now might not be, to media about these interviews with the Ebens. So I'm just like, talk about crazy. If you haven't been in the field long enough to go through all the material, look at all of it, discern for yourself what's fact or fiction, it's going to get a whole lot crazier and more confusing for people. If you haven't done that and you're just getting into it now, it's like there's so much to wade through. I can't imagine compressing all of that into now if you're just a new researcher. It's too much. You can't do it all.
I think what has to happen now is you really have to take one subject and focus your entire attention on it, because trying to bounce around from so many different subjects that are coming out about this and people that are coming out, it's getting so difficult to make it sound like it's working, and I think you're right when you say that this is all part of the ball of confusion.
Hell yes, right? It is. They want people to be, overwhelmed by a lot of it. And if you haven't been in this for a long time and been going through all that stuff for years and years and years, you're just going to get snowballed. So, and get fatigued and pissed. And, because people who've been waiting this for, decades and decades are now like, oh my God, the stories are being validated. But if you're coming in new now thinking you're going to get disclosure, how defeating. Because we're not going to get it. So you're just going to be waiting and get upset. Where other people who have had the wherewithal to stick through this for a long time probably will persevere and get through it, whatever we get, if anything.
The other thing, too, is the message is being watered down. I was listening to one, I read a report. I didn't get through it all at work today because I ended up getting busy, but there was a printed report, blog, vlog, whatever, about one of the things that's hurting the UFO world right now is too many people are trying to podcast about it.
Oh, that I absolutely agree with that. Yeah. There's all these voices, novice voices coming out about it that don't know what is what. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
And message is really getting distilled
And you said you've been on for what, 9 years?
9 years.
Yeah, so almost a decade of covering these topics with an educated audience, deepening their knowledge, building it over time. Talk about compressing that 9 years of shows and experts and subject matter experts into like 6 months. People just getting into this.
I'm often wondering, and I'll put on the tinfoil here. I would say there's a good bunch of these UFO podcasts out there that are, for the lack of a better term, bought.
Oh,
Because if you allow people to, let's just say, how can I put this? Let's just say thousands of people, tens of thousands of people started listening to us nightly. Okay. And what I mean by that is, let's just focus on YouTube here for a second. Okay. If we all of a sudden had, say, 10,000 people running through our chat room, or 5,000 people running through our chat room on a nightly basis, that's going to create a lot of contempt for those who are really trying to put the message down the toilet. Okay. And I think what they have done is, and I'll never name names publicly, but you and I have talked privately on this.
yes.
I think one of the goals was that a lot of these people are actually bought, either with, maybe not financially, but with information and promised guests. I mean, explain to me how a show with, and I'm not saying this out of jealousy, because I don't get jealous, okay? But explain to me how you can have a show out there with say 300 subscribers and an average of 28 views on a video, all of a sudden start bringing in big names that they have no business in chatting to.
And
right?
look at the way the interviews are conducted, and listen deeply. Are there questions they're not asking? Are there areas that they're not going to, the interviewer isn't going to, because they're protecting their interviewing? So you have to start looking at things like that, and how are they being cautious on what they're asking? And, I always appreciate when the interviewer is delicate, right? Because these are delicate things. And if people are going on the records about stuff that they're not supposed to, then they have to be cautious. For example, your Canadian representative who was at the Seoul Symposium, he couldn't answer certain things because he's still a representative of your government. And he's still kind of in the crosshairs talking about UAPs when the majority of your parties don't want to bring it up. And so he had to be delicate about things. But I liked the fact that the interviewer asked him questions directly about what's holding the Canadian government and parliament back. And he was able to answer things. And so I think that when you have this information sharing, or it's a bought deal for an exchange, you can kind of pick up on that if you're listening closely to the way the questions are being asked. Don't you think?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And I think it's not just an issue with new podcasts jumping up. I think a lot of the older podcasts out there that have become more vigilant and diligent regarding who they're talking to and getting their information from, the more, I think what they're doing is they're protecting a lot of themselves from the highly critical podcasts that are out there that are causing a lot of issues with people, whether it's personal attacks or whether it's name calling or bullying or whatever you want to call it. Right. So
Yes.
I think that's also in play as well. And the rest of us end up getting punished for it.
Well, you have to look at the audiences. You have an audience that is very, giving and very open and receptive to all these different types of topics, which would normally be fringe, very fringe topics. But They're there because they want to learn. And I learned so much just from the last 5 minutes of your last speaker. And there's so much to be garnered, from being in that community. But if you look at other podcasts that are really just about that cutthroat part of this, their audiences are going to be like that. They're going to be hateful and disgusting and rip people apart. And I think that's one of the reasons why SOR is so such a nice group, because people are really in it to win it and want to connect with one another. And there's something else going on. It's not just a news piece. It's not just, people wanting to get the goods or the gossip or what have you. There's a lot more going on in your community. And so that's why I like it. But that's what you're going to have problems with in other communities that aren't positive. You're going to have infighting, and you're going to have that ugliness, and it's going to tear people down. So nobody wants to be, who's of a more enlightened mind wants to be in that kind of community, in my opinion.
100%. 100%. Courtney, thank you for coming on tonight. We'll talk to you in a couple days' time.
Yes. Thanks, Dave. It was great. I'll see you soon.
Take care, my friend.
All right.
Courtney Marcassani, everybody. And I want to say a big thank you to Jenny Whitebear ×2, Mama Catherine, Noble Patrick, and T-Bone for the great super chats. Tomorrow night on the show, Geraldine Orozco appears for her final time of 2023. Yes, the spiritual you. We're going to get into aliens and her year tomorrow night. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you all for our new subscribers. Thank you all for hitting that thumbs up button. My name is Dave Scott. We'll see you tomorrow night, everybody.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.